Bonsoir tout le monde. Welcome everyone. Bienvenue aux séances ordinaires du Conseil municipal de la ville de Westmount pour lundi le 3 juin 2024. Welcome everybody to the regular municipal council meeting of the city of Westmount from Monday 4 on this beautiful summer night. Nice to see all of you here. I think we're going to start with a few updates with some of the council members will give some details. But what you see across the city right now is a pretty ambitious capital works budget that's going on and a significant amount of work throughout the city. So there are some cones and work happening all over the place on various locations, and you will see more of that. In particular, you will see water projects that are going to be happening throughout the city, which are shorter than a full road reconstruction, but still have a significant impact for the people that are actually living on the streets. One thing I did want to address, because many residents have been in touch with me about this, and I've been in communication, I'm in constant communication with Mayor Plante's office about this, as well as the SPVM, are the continued protests that happen in and around Westmount Square. I just want to reassure residents or reiterate the fact that we do not issue permits for these protests. It is not something that this is condoned or sanctioned by the city of Westmount, and they are entirely managed by the SPVM, but they are having a significant impact on the local businesses that are in the area, and a continued impact on them in terms of people accessing them and people being able to go. If you think of Tavern on the Square, the impact there, and some of the other restaurants in the neighborhood. So I know it's very, very frustrating for the people who live in the area when you can't get in or get out, and when it's several times a week, that is also a significant impact. But so we obviously relay these concerns to Mayor Plante's office, but as well to the SPVM, and we are also assured that the SPVM is in constant contact with the businesses there in the area, and the we have two significant buildings, residential buildings in the area. So I just wanted to clarify that point, because I think there's still some misunderstanding that we hand out permits for these protests, but we do not. So I think we're going to start with some updates. So maybe we will start at this end of the room.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Donc, comme je pense que tout le monde est au courant, j'ai voté contre le nouveau règlement 1522 concernant l'ajout du Boisé Summit au parc d'exercice canin. Je voulais quand même terminer ma vérification diligente dans ce dossier-là, donc j'ai contacté le ministère des Affaires municipales du Québec. J'ai demandé l'avis du ministère. Selon le ministère, il y a un risque pour la santé publique, il y a un risque pour l'ordre public, et en plus, il y a un risque potentiel pour les finances publiques. Donc,
I just want to clarify that as your interpretation of that.
Oui, c'est mon opinion, c'est exact, Madame la mairesse. Donc, le ministère suggère que je recommande à la municipalité, premièrement, d'obtenir un certificat de couverture de notre assureur en cas de réclamation contre la ville de Westmount, et en plus, d'obtenir, vu que le Conseil s'est fié sur un avis juridique d'une firme externe légale, d'obtenir une confirmation de cette opinion juridique qu'elle est conforme avec la jurisprudence récente qui est sortie le 15 mai, donc une décision de la Cour du Québec de 20 pages. As you all know, I voted against the new bylaw 1522, especially in regards to the inclusion of Summit Woods as a dog run. I'm dog exercise area. Sorry. So I wanted to finish my due diligence in this area. I have contacted the Quebec Minister of Municipal Affairs, and I feel, in my personal opinion, there is a threat to public safety, there is a threat to public order, and potentially a threat to the protection of the public purse in the case of a claim against the city of Westmount. So therefore, I'm recommending that the city of Westmount delay the June 15 implementation as it regards to Summit Woods. I'm also recommending that the City of Westmount obtain a letter from the insurance company confirming that in the event of a claim against the City of Westmount, we will be protected by the insurance company. And since the council has relied on an external legal opinion from an outside law firm, I'm also recommending that the City of Westmount obtain confirmation from that law firm that their legal opinion is still binding. Also, there is a new court case that came out May 15. It's a 70-page court case. So I want to make sure that the city is covered and the public purse is being protected. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Just to clarify, that's the legal opinion is not what is binding, the motion that was passed by council. I'm not going to get into a debate on this.
So the minister is of the opinion that council did act accordingly because they did rely on an outside legal opinion. Unfortunately, things change. There is a new court case. There is jurisprudence where there was no jurisprudence. So the minister recommends that we obtain a confirmation that the legal opinion is still binding.
Again, the legal opinion is an opinion.
Is a legal opinion obtained by the city of which council voted based on that legal opinion. And the minister thinks it would be a great idea to get confirmation that that legal opinion is still binding.
Okay.
And will
and
protect the city
to clarify,
against any
it's
claim
also
against
not
the city of Westmount.
I'm just clarifying that it's not the minister. He keeps referring to the minister.
Sorry, it's the Ministère des Affaires municipales, Ministère des Affaires municipales et d'Habitation du Québec.
Okay.
Is the ministry, not the minister. Sorry, when I say the minister, I mean the ministry, not the specific individual, the minister. I meant the ministry. The representative representing the minister at the ministry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Roux.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So on a less conflictual topic, I'd like to start by thanking the members of the McIntyre Committee, the 79 volunteer judges who this year organized another fantastic edition of the McIntyre competition. There were 1,207 entries. The winners were, the awards were given out last week. You should have seen the beaming faces of the kids and the parents. It was wonderful. Et je vous invite à aller voir l'exposition qui est en lien avec le McIntyre et qui se tient en ce moment à la galerie. C'est magnifique. Et vous allez voir des extraits des écrits qui ont gagné. I would also like to thank the McIntyre Committee for their initiative to plant a tree in front of the library to celebrate the 125th anniversary of the library. So while we're speaking of the 125th of the library, I'd like to invite you all on this coming Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. on the library lawns. So it'll be an afternoon of entertainment, refreshments to celebrate the library's 125th anniversary. There'll be ice cream, popcorn, face painting, typewriter poetry, special 125th merchandise for sale. There will be an Alice in Wonderland tea and croquet for children. Wait till you see this. It's beautiful. There'll be a concert featuring La Cigale. There'll be a presentation from the mayor. Students will be reading their winning essays. There'll be people giving us their memories of the library through the ages. And finally, there'll be a big birthday cake. So let's all hope for nice weather, and I hope to see all of you there. Speaking of anniversaries, it can sometimes be confusing. So it's the 125th of the city, of the library, and the 150th of the city. Alors, dans le cadre du 150e de la bibliothèque, le 6 juin prochain, il y aura une conférence qui s'appelle « Nous prenons soin des nôtres ». Excusez-moi, j'ai besoin de mes lunettes. Nous prenons soin des nôtres. Alors, c'est Westmount, un microcosme socialement distinct entre 1920 et 1970. La conférence sera donnée par Anthony Chiasson, qui est notre chef de division archives et gestion des documents à la ville. Alors, c'est à Victoria Hall le 6 juin à 19h. And then another exciting event on June 20th, from 9:45 to 12 and from 12:30 to 3 at the library, well, in front, the Story Walk. I invite you to join us for the launch of the TD Summer Reading Club. It's Canada's biggest bilingual summer reading program for kids of all ages, all interests, and all abilities. This year, the theme is To the Stars. Guest astronaut astronaut, Marc Garneau, before he was an MP. We all know he was an astronaut. Will read this summer's story walk, The Darkest Dark, written by astronaut Chris Hadfield and illustrated by the Fan Brothers. We're also welcoming Mayor Smith. There will be craft with Audrey Malo. So we've been picked by the TD to do their national launch. People will be coming in from Toronto, from Ottawa. It's a big thing. It's Westmount because of our 125th and the fact that we're the oldest public library in the province. Finally, on June 21st, Friday at 1 p.m. in Westmount Park, so near the bike path, there will be a concert in honor of the National Indigenous People Day. So it's a live concert, and it will feature Shamit. So I hope you can come. There will be barbecue, cupcakes. Oh, no, sorry, I'm mixing them up. Shamit is June 21st at 1 p.m. And then on June 24th, I'm sorry, there's so much, is la Fête nationale du Québec. Alors, c'est dans le Parc Westmount. Shamit aussi, c'est dans le Parc Westmount, but near the lagoon. The Saint-Jean-Baptiste will be next to the bike path. There will be face painting, barbecue, cupcakes. Et une présentation du groupe Jabour, qui est un groupe de folklore québécois. Alors, you shouldn't be bored in Westmount. There's tons going on. Look forward to seeing you at all these events. Thank you.
Thank you, and it's handy to have a resident astronaut be able to step in for Chris Hadfield. Councillor Peart.
Thank you, Madame la Mairesse. Je vais juste vous vous présenter une petite mise à jour sur nos projets d'infrastructure qui sont en cours dans la ville. Just so a quick infrastructure update. So the big project this year, as many of you may know, is the road reconstruction at Upper Lansdowne, which starts at the Edge Hill all the way up to the top at Lansdowne Ridge. That's a 26-week project that's been going on since the end of April, and I'm happy to report that everything is running well and according to schedule. The next project we had queued up was a water main replacement on Argyle. However, and later on in today's agenda, we'll be announcing that we're not going to award that contract because the prices that we received were too high, and the tech funding that we had expected has been exhausted. So that project will be deferred to a later date. There are other projects that are underway. There are water main lining projects, and when we do the water main lining, they're rehabilitation projects. So instead of completely excavating the water main, the team goes in and relines it after doing some punctual holes along the street. So there are projects at Belmont and KGP. Work began on May 28th. There's a project on Mountain. That work is beginning on June 6th. There's another project on Brayside Place. That work will be started after the study has finished its school year, so that's on July 2nd. Those projects will last anywhere from 7 to 14 weeks. There is also a road resurfacing project on Dorchester on the eastbound lanes from Clark to Green. That work will begin on June 17th. It lasts about 11 weeks. And again, that is coordinated with the school year at Westmount High. And the last project I'll mention too is kind of an ongoing project. Last year we did lead testing within homes. We had 100 homes that were tested last year. This year we raised the scope to include 250 homes. That list has been, all 250 homes have been filled, so residents have already signed up for that list. Next year, we'll reevaluate and see if we're going to do 250 homes again, or if we're going to try to shoot a little bit higher. One more thing, the Westmount Library, I know Councillor Roux would also be happy to learn that work is nearing completion on the new makerspace, and it will be done quite soon. That's it for me.
I was waiting for it to be done before I announced it, so that's why.
I'm just giving you a heads up.
And just also, there was public consultation on Claremont. So many people, there were 2 public consultations on Claremont for the rebuild, redesign, reconstruction.
Well attended.
And was well attended, both the daytime session and the nighttime session. So thank you to all of those who took time out of their busy schedules to participate in that. Councillor Bostock.
Just a quick announcement that our public works teams have been out getting the city ready for the beautiful weather. They've been out filling potholes, repairing and cleaning sidewalks, putting out benches and placettes in the Victoria and Green Avenue villages, as well as on de Maisonneuve. They've been putting out flower boxes, putting up bollards, repairing speed humps, and a lot more. And I just want to take a moment to thank the team at Public Works for all their hard work and for making our city beautiful.
Thank you. Councillor Gallery.
Thank you, Madame Maire. Bonsoir, bienvenue, tout le monde. It's nice to see so many people here tonight. I'd like to start my announcements with a huge thank you for a shout out to the Sports and Rec Department for organizing an outstanding Family Day last Saturday. I hope many of you were there. If you weren't, the park was full, it was happy. There were kids, parents, seniors, families, guests. It was just wonderful. And I'd like to thank all the departments of the city who actually, many of them had their own kiosks to showcase what they're working on and what they're doing, and I just thought they were excellent. And there were many more community group kiosks than ever before, and I just want to thank all of them for participating and interacting with our residents. It really means a lot, and there's amazing groups in our city who offer so much, so thank you. For those of you who don't know, also, the pool opened on Monday. It's at full capacity, and to check our schedule of free times and scheduled swim classes or upcoming swimming, all the information's on our website, and our very, very popular summer camp program is, the registration's now, but there's only a few spots left in a few sessions, so if you have kids looking for some entertainment this summer, it's a wonderful program. I also would like to thank the Public Works Department, especially the horticultural and arboriculture teams. They've been busy doing their plantings. They've been busy doing tree maintenance and tree plantings as well. And just to highlight that we had a rather large plant stolen from one of our planting boxes with an entire flower bed that disappeared. So it's a bit of a mystery, so we've had to order a second round of plants. And in some cases, we're waiting for new planters, so be patient with us. The planting will continue in the month of June. Some of you may have heard or not heard, there was a large tree that fell in King George Park on Friday. Thankfully, no one was hurt, and just it's a reminder how important our tree maintenance program is, and I thank those who were quick on the site to take care of it. What else do I have? Okay, lots of projects in our parks. Westmount Park, as you all know, has the fence around a massive overhaul of the playground and the infrastructure below. The paths, it's a significant project for our city, and so far everything has started on track. We have signs up for now, but we are waiting for our 3D rendering, which should be available in the coming week. We have heard a lot of feedback about the lights in the lagoon. We have heard you, and they have been unplugged. But the lagoon is now full of water, and again, thank you for your patience. We had infrastructure work that was necessary. So, and the WAG project's going well and should be on time and will be completed at the end of this month, I think. And then lastly, I have one great exciting announcement regarding the 150th celebration coming up in the next 2 weeks. So on Saturday, June 15th, we will be having a block party on Green Avenue between Sherbrooke and de Maisonneuve. We're going to be launching our first mural, and it will take place on the wall of the parking lot on the Green Avenue west side, and we're going to have an unveiling celebration from 1 to 4 p.m., and I hope you can make it. We'll be having free refreshments, a DJ, entertainment, and a cash bar. So I hope to see you there, and it's a big year for us, and for those who aren't here often, it's our 150th, so everything we do is in 150th celebration mode. So thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Aronson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and greetings to everybody who's come out tonight. I'm very happy to see the room full of concerned citizens, and happy for you to be here while I give some reports on the environmental front and for our business development front. So first and foremost, on the environmental front, the long-awaited Environment and Sustainability Committee is finally at the stage where Council, at its last caucus meeting, has approved the shortlist. We had a huge number of extremely qualified candidates, and getting through all of those applications was quite a challenge. We are now going to be speaking with the finalists over the course of the next week to schedule some interviews. And for those individuals who, despite the fact that they were very strong candidates and all of whom could have contributed to this committee, have not been selected to move forward to the next round, will be receiving an email of thanks from the administration and from the council for their contributions. Garden waste collection is ongoing per the spring schedule. Curbside collection of our landfill has been, per our environment team at Public Works, going very well. I'd like to thank all of the residents who have had to make some adjustments in putting their garbage out in the front of their homes if they live on inaccessible alleys. People have been very understanding about the changes that needed to be done and the reasons behind them, and have been finding ways to adapt. If this is something that you're still finding challenging, I do encourage you to please contact me by email or by telephone. My contact information is available on the website, and our environment team and I will help you to find a way to make it work for you. There are still some folks who didn't know the changes that occurred, but the new collection procedures have been in place for about a month now, and according to our environment team, things are going very well. Our compost program is expanding. There are now 23 buildings of 9 to 29 units that were not part of the compost program before the adoption of our new bylaw 1617, which have been added. So if you are living in one of those 29 buildings that have 9 to 29 residents, you can now take advantage of the compost program, and we encourage you to do so. If you need any information or any guidance on how to do that, you'll be happy to know that the Green Patrol students started today, and they're going to be working on different projects, including recycling, food waste, and landfill bin inspections to help people who might need a little bit of help to figure out what waste goes where, as well as door-to-door to educate the population and inform them about all of the collections offered by the city. They had a wonderful booth set up at Family Day, which was a great success. We had a lot of excited visitors, especially young visitors, come to visit us at the environmental booth at Family Day, and everybody had a very good time and learned a lot. The second bulky items collection is going to be occurring tomorrow. So if you have bulky items that need to go out, tomorrow's the day to do it. And new this year, please remember, you do need to register. Let us know your bulky items are out there so we can come and pick them up. Again, the information is available on our website. Moving on now to our economic development portfolio. Just two quick announcements, one from last week and one for next week. Last weekend, for those of you who were able to attend, Green Avenue had its Merchants Festival, and it was a great success. And I have a quick note here of thanks from the merchants that I have been asked to read. The Merchants Association writes, "Dear Mayor and Council, the Cartier Green Merchants Association, which says thank you for your support. Our festival this past weekend was all sunshine and happy times filled with music and fun for all ages. The increased attendance resulted in great sales, and several boutiques reported it was their very best day for sales in the year 2024 so far. We wish to thank the mayor and the councilors who attended. But a special thanks for the Public Works Department, who kept the streets clean and the bins emptied, and for Westmount Public Safety, who ensured the safety and helped many with parking issues. And of course, a shout out to the urban planning team for the new furniture and the lovely planters. Green is greener than ever. So if you didn't have a chance to come down for the festival, please do visit Green Avenue in the coming weeks and enjoy all of the furniture that's been put out. They go on to say, we merchants are working hard as a group to improve the vitality of Green and St. Catherine, but we couldn't do it without the support of the City of Westmount. Thank you. If you missed out on the Green Festival, there is one happening on Victoria this coming weekend. So we invite everyone to please come out in great numbers, bring your family, including your pets. There should be a lot of fun activities and interesting things to do, and of course, all of our merchants with their wares out to sell. And with that, Madam Mayor, my report is concluded.
Thank you. Councillor Kez.
Thank you. My reports are related to our little District 8. I just want to remind everyone that on June 12th at Victoria Hall is going to be the public consultation for the Southeast workshop. Starts at 6 till 9. So it's important many of you come, especially a shout out to District 8 residents. It's in our district. Second thing I want to mention, there was some issues regarding Clandeboy and Clandeboy Lane about garbage pickup and compost, and as you probably know, it's been corrected, so it will continue to be picked up in the laneway. Also, I want to let you know what's coming. Not so good news. I know that with the Lucien Lallier project going on, there has been a detour of trains passing through our area. I know the sector located between Abbott and Hillside, Matt, that's your district. Trains turn around in that zone, so that's an affected zone. Another zone that's going to be affected is District 8 zone, which is between Hallowell and Weirdale Park. This is where trains will be parking. They were supposed to start this mid-May, but it's been delayed because something to do with the tracks, but they're coming. So these trains are going to be parked. They're going to turn off their engine whenever they can, but it will be an inconvenience, and it will be for the next 5 months. On a happier note, there's 11 pear trees that will be planted in Selby Park. So that's our update for District 8. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we are going to move to question period. So we've got a lot of questions that came in online, but first we will take the questions from the room. And I would just remind you of the rules of question period, to state your name and your question. And then obviously be very mindful of the fact that you have several people in the lineup tonight. And then, so we will go to questions online after. We have a 45-minute question period, so we have a second question period after the other part of the agenda. So, on va commencer, c'est 7h30.
Hello. Hello. My name is Heather Black. I'm on Academy, and I'm here asking questions as a citizen, not as a journalist. It's regarding a petition that I'm going to start. So my first question is, with regards to the work on the lights, the pond was drained, and I had informed all of the councillors that this was against the regulations of the Migratory Bird Act, and I wanted to know who makes the decisions to disregard federal regulations.
So about the pond was not drained the pond was partially drained for masonry work on the wall in the pond.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the work on the lights last week. The blue lights.
Yeah, and there was water available for
Only
the ducks.
a little bit up at the top.
Okay.
But it's still, once the birds arrive, they are protected under the Migratory Bird Convention Act. And I'd like to know who makes decisions to overrule, federal regulations.
A decision was made because it was necessary infrastructure work that was being done on the masonry work in the park.
No, I'm not talking about the masonry work. I'm talking about the addition of the lights.
And there was a very conscious decision to keep water within the pond to ensure that the ducks had a place to go.
So no one made the decision? You made the decision?
I did not make the decision to empty water at a certain point, that is the work of Public Works. I don't empty the pond.
My second question is regarding, it's our 150th birthday celebration, and it seems we have a lot of heritage protection for the buildings, but not for the park. And I was wondering if there's anyone on council that would be willing to meet with some citizens and discuss more heritage protection for the park. Under the standards and guidelines of historic sites, there's a number of things that need to be recognized. Extra sort of frivolous things like the lights would not be in conformity to the standards and guidelines.
I would happily meet you.
Thank you.
So if you want to write me with any residents,
copy
I'm
you?
always happy to meet. I'm always happy to meet residents. So
Thank you very much.
if you write to me, my office will set up that meeting.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and councillors. I read the mayor's.
Sorry, can you just
My
state your
name is
name?
Maxine Cutler. I'm from Lansdowne Avenue. I read with interest your recent article in the Gazette, where you said, and I'm going to quote, "I'm fortunate Westmount is home to engaged residents since municipal government is the most accessible level of government and key to the daily lives of all of us." You also said, "Leadership means sticking to your beliefs, doing what is right for your community, and maintaining a forward-thinking attitude. All this requires courage." That's verbatim.
Yep.
These are
Sounds
very
familiar.
fine words. These are very fine words. However, I'm sure that you would agree that if not acted on, they become empty political platitudes, something that is all too prevalent in this modern world. This brings me to the controversial amendment to Bylaw 1522, aimed at curing the city's contravention of provincial legislation concerning public protection and the dangers posed by off-leash dogs. I'm straying from my, what I wanted to say. I would really like to ask you, why did you not simply comply with the legislation? Why did you seek a legal opinion? And I would be curious to know how you framed that legal opinion that elicited the response, define Summit Woods as a dog-run facility. Are we
that your
entitled to know
question?
how you framed your reference to the lawyers?
So to address your question, I invite other council members because this was supported by 7 of the council members as
I'm
well.
quite aware of that.
And we are in compliance. The province gives the municipality the power to enact this. This is our role. This is what a municipality does. This is a power that Westmount has. I have absolutely heard you. Several of people who share your opinion have come to council and written to me. Several people who don't share your opinion have also come to council and also written to me. And we feel that we have been able to continue the use with increased fines, increased vigilance with having public security up there much more often. And that was the decision of council that's been made, and doesn't seem to be any appetite from council to reverse that decision that was made.
Okay, may I continue?
You can have a follow-up question, yeah.
A follow-up, it's still part of this thing. You are engaging in dialogue with me, and I would like to just continue. Very little left, very, very little left. One of the things I would like to say is that in light of the biggest environmental challenge facing the entire world, not to mention your photo op attendance at a demonstration in support of Greta Thunberg, I fail to see how this amendment is in any way forward-thinking. What do you mean by forward-thinking when that statement you made in the Gazette? What is forward-thinking?
Well, in this context, I think what we did hear from is many, many citizens that really, there's many users of Summit Woods, and people are very, very passionate about it. And, does anyone else want to add to this? Councillor Aronson?
I actually would prefer to talk to Mayor Smith, if you don't mind. I'm just going to turn.
So on this issue, in terms of forward thinking, is we have increased the fines significantly. We've also increased any outside resident, anyone from outside of Westmount, we've also increased that significantly. And we will have an increased presence. So I think there's my answer to you on that one.
Forward thinking to me means taking into account environmental concerns and public safety, which, as far as I'm concerned, if you're balancing interests, which you claimed last time, that scale tips far in favor of environmental protection and public safety versus people who claim to have a legacy privilege. The world has changed. The time has come.
Okay, thank you for your commentary.
I'd like to comment. So I would like to comment on your question. The issue is It is not an easy question. I spent over a year looking at this question. It is a very complex question. It's regarding public space versus not a public space.
So,
The,
okay, we're going to
my
move.
understanding, my
we're gonna-
understanding,
So we don't argue from the audience. We're going to move to the next question. Thank you.
Will you allow me to? Thank you. My name is John Fretz. I'm on Lansdowne Avenue. Madame Mayor, I've made a demande d'accès for a important study that was done in 1996, following basically on the heels of the refurbishing that Sandra Donaldson did earlier in that decade. Now this is a Grebe report. Grebe was an affiliate of BAPE, and the study was undertaken by a very well-known biologist, Mario Saint-Georges, whom I've spoken to. I would like to get that report. I don't think it certainly is not at the library where it should be. It's part of the history of Westmount, and it's called Étude de la problématique de l'effet des chiens sur l'avifaune du Parc Summit. Now, all I can tell you is that the report or the study is available. I've spoken to Mr. Saint-Georges. He says I can release it any time, but it was done by Westmount and remitted to Westmount, and they would have to give their okay. And that's what my demande d'accès is about. And why I'm here is, Madame Mayor, I would ask you, when this document may well reach your desk, will you act in a timely manner so that I can read it and other people can consult it?
Thank you for your question. And the demande d'accès does not come across my desk. That is not something that is the mayor is involved with. So if you have put in your request for your access to information, you will get a response within the time frame prescribed. So I'm not sure when you put in your access request.
It was about 10 days ago.
Okay, so I'm sure that the legal department will follow up on that, but that will not be something that comes via my office.
Mm-hmm. It might be fun to read it, though.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
With interest. Thank you for your question. Next question.
My name is Colleen Gray. I live on Victoria Avenue. In light of the fact that the Summit Woods is opening up again for dogs, I think on the 16th of June, you can correct me if I don't have that right. I'm just wondering, in light of the fact that a number of people have come before this council, including myself, and talked about how they had been physically attacked by dogs, if anything is being done to try to fix the situation or help the situation that is going to be in place as of the 15th or the 16th of June. Number one, I just want to know is who decides if a dog is on or off leash? If that dog is fit to be off leash or should be on leash, it's the owner, okay? I have encountered a number of owners up on the summit who think it's fine that a dog blocks my path and barks at me, that a dog lunges at me even though it doesn't touch me physically. They think that that's fine and actually just sort of cute behavior. If a person did that to me, the law would have something to say about that. So I think it's pretty serious. I told you this, I used to be a dog owner. I was up there for 20 years. I know the other side. I see it. I understand it. Now, having been there for 3 years and walking around, I think that it's serious enough for you to take steps or form a committee and decide what you're going to do about this public safety issue if you're determined to go on with retaining this bylaw. Thank you.
So I think as we stated before, we are increasing public security. What we do also have, and when you get your dog permit, so if you don't have a dog license, when you get your dog permit, you understand a certain set of rules that are within the city for dog runs and also walking your dog on leash, as well as at Summit Woods. And the increased public security, we think, will have an effect. The public debate hopefully will have an effect on behavior, but it is not So all of those increased, fines and security, this is not last year at this time as well, after the bird nesting season, it's a continuation of a long tradition that's happened in Westmount. And we encourage you to call public security if you see an issue. And that's often how things get reported, and that's how dogs get listed, how we begin inquiries about dangerous dogs. And we do have dangerous dogs in the city, and council had decided tonight we are going to move forward with making that list public of who those dogs are. And we've passed motions in the past where you list a dog as a dangerous dog. Some are listed with the province, so that motion does not come through Westmount. Some are listed through Westmount. We take that very, very seriously. So if there is an issue, I encourage, wherever it may be, I encourage you to call public security and report that issue.
I can just, this one last comment, I can tell you for sure that if there's a vicious dog off leash and there's 10 public security officers, no one is going to save the person who's been attacked, because you can't, okay, unless they shoot it with a gun. That's just how serious it is, okay? That may not happen ever again. Maybe that was an anomaly, what happened to me, but it could very easily happen, yes?
So the ministry is very concerned about that. They are aware of our issue, and they feel that obviously if the insurance company doesn't cover the city in case of a claim, this bylaw cannot go through. But there are alternatives. So the options, and Beaconsfield has looked at this option, there are basically three options. One is to have the dogs on leash at all times, which is the most inclusive option, because then everybody can enjoy the summit. So the summit is for everybody,
Like
but
Mount
the dogs
Royal
have
Park.
to be, but
Yeah.
the dogs have to be on leash. The second is to do what Beaconsfield did, the Angel Woods. So they cordoned off, they created 2 dog runs outside Angel Woods. You have one for the big dogs, one for the small dogs. And the third option is to completely enclose Summit Woods and to designate Summit Woods as a real dog run, because it's enclosed. It has a fence or enclosure, which is what the MAPAC, the other ministry, recommended as the option.
So I think Councillor Aronson wanted to follow up on this.
Yeah, I think, as we have this public discourse around dogs and who's ultimately responsible for the behavior of dogs, it's really important to note that the Quebec Civil Code is extremely clear on this subject. If an animal causes damage either to a person or to inanimate objects, the person who is responsible for that damage is the owner of the dog. That is the person who would theoretically be the subject of a lawsuit should one go forward. So it is incumbent upon all dog owners to be absolutely certain that if they are to let their dogs off a leash in a designated area, which is the only place that they're allowed to do so, that they have control of that dog through training and through verbal commands. If they fail to do so, if a dog were to attack someone in the way that you were attacked, the owner of that dog is legally responsible for the actions of that dog. So it isn't our neighbors, it isn't the police or public security, it isn't the mayor or Councillor D'Amico or any one of us. Ultimately, the person responsible for their dog is the person who owns it, which is why when and if someone owns a dangerous dog who attacks other dogs or attacks people, they are held responsible for it. And they are the people who are also
Issued the fine.
Okay, I thank you.
and obligated, once the dog is declared dangerous, to keep that dog on a leash regardless of whether or not it's in an area where off-leash dogs would be permitted, and to have that dog muzzled. And those are the rules by which everyone in this province must live.
Unfortunately, there's a court case, and the municipality of Potton was declared guilty and had to pay.
Yes, because that municipality
because the
failed
owner-
to act.
Because the owner did not have enough money to, so the person pursuing decided to pursue the city and not the dog owner.
And
so you are right
Councillor
about the civil
D'Amico-
code, but the city was liable and had to pay.
And, Councillor D'Amico, the
Okay.
city,
Okay,
knowing that there was a
Thank you.
dangerous dog, failed to enforce its bylaws with regards to dangerous dogs. And that was what that case was about.
Okay,
I'll
I-
remind you, sir,
You're caught between a disagreement between councillors, but
Yeah,
thank
okay.
you for.
No, I respect that. I just would like to say that it looks like that I've reached a dead end here, that we're at a stalemate, that nothing really is being done, and we're going to just sit and split hairs. And in the meantime, there are
Councillor
so many
Peart wants to
people.
add
I would
something.
like to take send around, go from door to door and find out who's been bitten, who doesn't go up there because something happened or they heard about something happen. We don't even know about those people that have come forward, okay, that haven't come forward. So it's an underlying issue. Thank you so much for listening to me, but I think we're at a dead end.
Just a quick follow-up point, because it's possible that not everybody is aware that as of June 16th, all the way through Halloween, from 10 a.m. through 5 p.m., dogs are not allowed to be off-leash. 7 days a week. 7 days a week.
Okay, next question.
Hello, my name is Sophia. This is Yuvi. This is Sophie, and this is Jonah. And we are from St. George's Elementary School in Westmount. Our teacher sent a request this morning to make sure we have an opportunity to ask this question and to share our voices. We hope you take our ideas into consideration.
As you know, we organized a climate march on May 16th and invited other schools to participate in this message, in order to share our message with everybody who listens. So we hope this protest that we shared with other schools helps your decision making.
We think a bike path is important because it's better for our planet. Bikes last much longer than cars and cost much less. Another important reason is that safety. We took a survey at St. George's, and one of the reasons why students don't bike to school is because they don't feel safe biking to school. There isn't a bike path on the boulevard, which it makes it harder for people to bike. A bike path can also help grow our community and bonds.
To add on to growing our community and bonds, having a bike path would make the boulevard much less of a boulevard and more of a space where there's more bikers and also there's more walkers, because with one of the designs that I made, the bike paths, there's going to be bike paths and the space for people to walk can be bigger. This will let people walk with each other and talk more easily and help active transportation from students in school. This is also much safer because there will be less lanes on the boulevard, so that means that cars will go much slower and thus make it safer for bikers and safer for people who are walking because they're not going to get hit by a car. As for our question, we wanted to ask you if you've considered adding a bike path onto the boulevard, and if yes, how can us students help share our voice and share our opinions with the planning process?
So thank you, bravo. Great job. Thank you for coming. I had the pleasure of meeting you and many of your other students from St. George's and from many of the schools on May 16th. So last year, St. George's organized this walk where it was just you. I don't think there were other schools that were involved. And this year, you sent me a letter saying, would I come with you, as well as your member of parliament and your representative in Quebec City? And we all said, yes, we would come with you. And you said, well, this year we're going to be 2,000 students. And I was like, oh, that's adorable but it actually was 2,000 students. So you grew your movement, and what I loved about the day is that you had questions for all different levels of government of things that we can do. So the good news on the boulevard is that, as we discussed, as Councillor Peart was talking about before, we're doing some of the work around the boulevard, and we will have to do the boulevard. And that is going to be a major, major project in the city because it runs the whole way across, which is 2 kilometers. It has 4 schools on it. It has a massive amount of traffic, but it's also a neighborhood street. And I think one of the big priorities on that street is your safety and is how you get to school and how you feel safe in getting to school. And so bike paths, and so when we did Westmount Avenue, we put a bike path on there. And people get upset about bike paths when they first go in. And then people start to realize the effect that they can have on the streets. And I remember when they put the Westmount Avenue bike path in, and I thought, is it a bike path to nowhere? But it's not. It was a bike path to Roslyn School, and it's a bike path that connects with other parts of the city. So there will be a public consultation on this, and I really hope that all of you, not just you from St. George's, but from all the schools, the 4 schools that are along the boulevard, participate in that. Because that is a road, that's an important east-west road in our city. But I think it's very, very important that kids feel safe in how they get to school. And I know one of the big, some of your parents have talked to me about this, and I see it every day, is the intersection at where Cedar and Argyle and the Boulevard all meet, and there's just a triangle there. And I see kids darting across that, and every day I kind of catch my breath seeing that, hoping that it's okay. So that's clearly that will be a big, big part of the redesign of that street. So thank you for coming. I think, does anyone else have anything they want to add? Conrad? And then, okay.
Excellent presentation, and your timing is great because as the mayor said, we're going to be reconstructing the boulevard. So we're going to have public consultations. And we welcome your idea at the public consultation. So you're going to have an impact on the design of the boulevard. So we hope to see you. Thank you.
So, before you run off, I thank you. I love this. When we have our public consultations, what I often say is these projects only come up every 3 decades, 4 decades. And Claremont, the last time we looked at Claremont, I think it's been that same configuration for almost 100 years. So when we're rebuilding roads, we're not just rebuilding for ourselves, we're rebuilding for you guys. So we're not trying to just think about the people, all of us who are in the room. Some of us have X amount of time left, I don't know, but we're thinking about the future. And we know these roads are gonna last for 30, 40, 50 years before they're done again. And we wanna hear from you. So when we do our consultations, we're going to make sure that we make it so that the kids can come in the evening. We want to hear from you more. This is fantastic. So I want more of this.
So
Bravo.
come back
Come back
with more ideas.
Yeah, thank you. We're very happy to hear that.
Thank you for coming.
Hello, Madeline Sperlich. I'm here about that triangle. The lawn needs to be mowed. It's considered weeds now. So if you could possibly mow the lawn and put some flowers and put that sidewalk, would be greatly appreciated. And last time I did my question really late, so I'm asking you again to seriously consider buying Villa Maria because it's a once in 500-year opportunity to buy the old Governor General's property, increase our green space. You could put an indoor pool. It would be really modern of you. You know, this would be a possibility for you to have soccer fields. You could get an income from the school. You could parcel out a piece of it. But it's very rare for a city to have an occasion to buy green land, and even less in an island situation where we're completely surrounded by the city of Montreal. And you could give it as a gift to yourself for a 150-year city. This property has never been for sale for 150 years.
Okay,
So I think
so
you should really consider buying Villa Maria.
So I'm going to let Councillor Peart respond to the Villa Maria side, but just on the triangle, that was not mowed because that was part of the No Mow May initiative, where we're not mowing certain parks and green spaces during the month of May to encourage pollination. So that was one of them. So that should be, if it wasn't done today, it will be done this week as part of the mowing. So you see, like, there are some spots in the city where the grass is very, very long. And absolutely that triangle would be part of any redesign when we do the boulevard. So that will also very much be a part of the public consultation.
Okay, so
And so I will leave Councillor Peart to answer the Villa Maria question.
Well, as to the suggestion for acquiring Villa Maria, the challenge would be that the entirety of the property is in Villa Montréal.
You
It's
know,
outside- it's outside-
in life you have to be forward-thinking and not be afraid. Back in the day, we could have fought for it with guns. It's very civilized to just buy it and then deal with the legal hassle.
Okay.
You know, that's how people do things, right? So you buy it and then you appropriate it. No big deal.
No
Thank you.
biggie.
No biggie.
Thank you.
Hi.
Next question.
Hi. My
Hi,
name is
welcome.
Susan Gold. I live in Montreal. I'm 3 blocks outside of the Westmount border. I'm a proud member of the Westmount Dog Owners Association. I've been a member for 36 years and have been going to the summit for all of that time. I know some faces here from 30 years ago when we had another argument over the property, and at that time we changed the hours from, or the bird watching for Elsie Mitchell, who wanted to give bird watching classes, and we had the April 16 to June 15 time slot cordoned off. In any case, first of all, I'm very happy that there's more security at the summit. I'm happy to see that some bicyclists have been fined, because we do have that problem. It's not only dogs. I've been going up there on leash during the past 6 weeks. I've yet to see anybody walking there. I've gone at 6 o'clock, I've gone at 7 o'clock in the morning. I've gone at 7 at night, I've gone at 1 in the afternoon. There's nobody there, number one. Number two, I have yet to hear of anybody being bitten in all of these years. And if so, you know, I would like to meet with public security. I'm an active member of the WDOA, so I really do have an ear to the ground. We haven't heard of anything. I haven't heard of people getting sued, or the city of Westmount getting sued from dog bites. I haven't heard of that. I've heard of nothing. And so we're asking, why aren't people calling public security? If they're bitten, if they're afraid, that's what phones are for. They're not only to take videos, they're to call public security, and we want them to, you know, the same people to be fined. So we are very happy to work with the people who want dogs on leash to find a solution, but I think the solution is very clear. We police ourselves, and if you find that a dog is close to biting you, call public security.
So is that your question?
My question was, because I need a question, is
Yes.
right? I
Required
said,
at the microphone.
yeah, it was to Councillor D'Amico. When was the last claim against the city of Westmount for an incident at Summit Woods?
So in 2018, this new provincial law came into effect.
Yes.
Okay, so the rules have changed since 2018.
But has there been a claim?
No, we're here, our job is to promote public safety. We're not here to play Russian roulette with the public safety of the citizens. That's not our job. Now, this is a provincial law of public safety and public order. What the minister told me is exactly what you just said. You're gonna have to wait for somebody to make a claim, for either the judge on the bench to decide the case, or the insurance company to say, we're not covering you because you're in violation of the provincial law. I'm trying to prevent that.
Okay, you're being
Now,
proactive.
you're also saying that the dog, that you're also saying that the dog owner, the off-leash dog owner, can control their dog.
No,
How
no.
do you explain
No,
that?
I'm not
but
saying-
be serious.
this
Be
is-
serious.
Okay, I know.
How do you?
Okay.
How can an
My
off-leash
question
dog
is,
be under the control of the owner?
My question is, Councillor D'Amico, I have been there 36 years, not all the time, but believe me, I hear everything. We are an association that really keeps our ear to the ground. I have not heard of a claim. I have not heard of a dog bite. Have you?
People
have
have come here.
not?
People have come here,
Well,
and they've had dog bites.
Okay,
but
sorry,
I-
I'm gonna have to, I'm
Okay,
gonna
I'm
have to
just-
rein this back in.
You
Councillor
haven't.
D'Amico?
You haven't been here. You just showed up now because some residents are
No.
asking the city to enforce the provincial law. I've never seen you here. And first of all, you're not even a Westmounter. You're in Montreal, which is fine. I have no problem with that. But
Councillor
really,
D'Amico.
we're here for public safety.
I've
we're
had a
not
Westmount
here.
license for
Okay,
30
I'm
years.
going to ask.
We're here to promote public safety and public order, not
Thank
to
you,
promote
Mrs.
what you
Gold,
want.
thank you for your question, which was not directed at me, but thank you for your question. Next question.
Good evening. I have a couple of questions, but I'll just make a comment following the dog situation. I'm Fabrice Veil from 560 Claremont.
Bienvenue.
I have a little sign on my lawn that says, please be respectful. And every week I see some people with a dog that are letting the dog either pee or take a dump on the lawn despite the sign. So I love dogs, but not on my lawn, especially not when the kids go from the car to the lawn to the house. So there's a question of respect there from everyone. And I'm not getting involved in the crotte de chien, but there's a situation where despite signs on a regular street, dog owners are not being respectful. So that was not the topic I came for. J'étais un petit peu déçu de ne pas pouvoir participer aux consultations sur Clermont. J'ai reçu le papier 5 jours avant la consultation du soir et 2 jours après la première consultation à laquelle j'aurais pu participer.
Okay.
Première question, c'est est-ce qu'il y aura une autre consultation parce que la publicité ou les annonces n'ont pas été faites de manière satisfaisante pour les gens qui habitent sur Clermont.
Donc, ça, c'était un problème avec quelques résidents dans le coin. Je pense que vous n'êtes pas le premier de dire. Donc, c'est un problème, c'est sûr. Et je pense qu'il y a une option en ligne aussi.
Que j'ai remplie.
Oui.
Mais il n'y a pas d'échange avec les autres. Donc, on ne peut pas se rendre compte.
Ça, c'est la chose la plus importante sur une consultation publique, c'est l'échange. Donc, on peut parler de ça. Je n'ai pas une réponse pour vous ce soir, mais je vais parler avec...
Je voulais quand même vous poser la question. Je n'attends pas la réponse ce soir.
Oui.
Mais prendre ça en considération, quitte à ce que ce soit un rendez-vous organisé un mois à l'avance où on puisse s'organiser.
Oui, oui, et sûrement.
C'est suffisamment important. Ça fait plusieurs années qu'on attend que Clermont soit refait.
Et vous êtes un citoyen qui était vraiment impliqué et posé des questions sur la rue Clermont parce que
Absolument.
ça fait longtemps qu'on a besoin de faire ça.
Voilà. Et alors après, j'ai mes opinions, mais je pense que pour moi, l'essentiel, c'est d'être pragmatique et de s'assurer de la sécurité de tout le monde. Donc, je voulais en profiter pour refaire quelques remarques du côté de Clermont, où les gens vont vite à cause du feu, mais sur lesquels, à l'approche de Marianopolis, à l'approche de l'école anglaise qui est sur Westmount, je ne vois pas assez de passages piétons avec les bandes blanches. Et avant de mettre des ralentisseurs, de mettre des pistes cyclables surdimensionnées alors qu'il y a 3 cyclistes qui passent, avant de mettre toutes ces choses-là, je voudrais réitérer et reposer la question, qu'est-ce que vous faites pour les piétons ? Rappelez quelque chose, ça fait 25 ans, plus de 25 ans que je suis en Amérique du Nord, 9 ans que j'habite à Westmount. J'ai grandi en France. En France, devant toutes les écoles, vous avez des barrières sur 30 mètres au niveau de la sortie, ce qui fait que les enfants ne peuvent pas courir directement et aller sur la route. Donc, ça n'empêche pas d'avoir des pistes cyclables, ça n'empêche pas d'avoir des automobiles, mais il faut quand même savoir que la sécurité, elle commence à la fois par s'assurer que les enfants ne font pas n'importe quoi, surtout à un jeune âge, et ensuite avoir des actions pour rendre la route plus calme pour tout le monde. Mais plus calme pour tout le monde, ça veut dire que plus de passages cloutés. Quand vous êtes en voiture, vous faites plus attention.
Oui.
L'éducation aussi, et là je vais faire un tout petit commentaire sur les enfants. C'est très mignon ce qu'ils faisaient, ils ont raison. Il faut que le pavement soit propre pour qu'on puisse y aller à vélo. Oui. Mais il faut aussi commencer l'éducation très tôt de tous les cyclistes qui devraient, à mon avis, avoir un code de la route. J'ai fait du vélo pendant 18 ans à New York, et je suis encore vivant. Mais j'ai probablement respecté le code de la route, et je voudrais voir dans les villes ici, et Westmount en particulier, une action qui soit faite pour que chacun partage la route et que certains cyclistes, voire la plupart, à partir d'un certain âge, soient quasiment obligés d'avoir passé le code de la route pour qu'ils soient respectueux de tout le monde.
Je suis d'accord avec vous. Est-ce que vous avez des commentaires sur le côté trafic pour les écoles?
Je suis 100% en accord avec toi concernant la sécurité dans les zones scolaires. C'est une inquiétude que nous avons autour de la table pour la comité du trafic. C'est quelque chose qu'on discute avec le SPVM, les écoles, sécurité publique, les familles, les résidents. Et on fait des améliorations à chaque jour. À chaque année, on fait pour réduire la vitesse, améliorer la peinture sur la rue pour désigner ou pour clarifier que c'est une zone scolaire. On a augmenté les tarifs pour la vitesse dans les zones scolaires qui sont maintenant en ligne avec la Ville de Montréal. On fait beaucoup. La réalité, c'est les personnes qui conduisent leur voiture, souvent, qui doivent changer.
Mais pas que, c'est une question d'éducation de tout le monde. Et je pense qu'augmenter le montant des contraventions n'empêchera pas une voiture de frapper un enfant. Par contre, si vous avez des passages cloutés, si vous peignez des passages cloutés avant de repeindre la piste cyclable, là, vous allez avoir un effet, parce que quand vous arrivez en voiture et que vous voyez les bandes blanches, vous allez forcément savoir s'il y a un piéton que lui a priorité.
Oui. OK.
Merci
beaucoup. Et pour les autres questions, on va je pense qu'il y a quelques-uns en ligne, but whoever's in line now will do those questions. We have a second question period after the rest of the agenda, so I can't see who's at the end of the line, but okay. Next question.
Good evening, Madame Mairesse, Madame Mayor.
Welcome.
And councillors. You haven't aged since last time I saw you, which is some time ago. Congratulations.
I can assure you I've aged a lot in the past few months.
As have I.
But you should let everybody know what your name is.
Oh, sorry. I'm the infamous Caroline Jondal, to the council.
Welcome.
Right. Firstly, I did want to say there's been some very interesting community building events of late. And that's great. You know, the library, wonderful singers on the street from John Abbott College. I enjoyed that.
Great.
Now let's get into the stuff.
Okay.
Right. Firstly, please tell me if the Westmount Independent quoted you correctly in May 14th edition. I meant to have it here, but leaving home, it was forgotten. So, Commissioner of Urban Planning said, there are never perfect solutions, but hard choices. Finance Councillor said, for the greater good, it's a trade-off very worth pursuing. Madame Mayor, you said, it appears that the city of Westmount was one of the few municipalities without a synthetic turf field that is being enlarged, if it goes through, ultimately. Well, my reaction was leadership and the willingness to think critically and open is questionable with respect to this issue and the decision to partner with Marianopolis to affirm the installation of a synthetic and full term at million. I get million and billions mixed up. You know, estimated.
I can assure you it's not billion.
Yeah. Estimated cost. Usually such projects, such as the Imagine the Park business and those consultations, the money was wasted in certain people's opinions. So,
your question.
I asked it, but Were you the same people? You seem to agree. Didn't seem to be any dissension. So I'll go on to my second question about this issue. Synthetic turfs are heat pools. They are deserts that attract heat. The climate crisis, according to the people, the scientists, the experts who study this, politicians even. You know, in fact, before leaving home, I have millions and billions in my head because the federal government announced, I don't have the papers, I forgot them at home, announced something like $50 billion to municipals and cities to try and counteract the damage being done by the climate crisis.
So
some
your
people
question, 'cause you have-
So my question is, second question, is what would the former mayor of Mexico City, newly elected president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, who is an environmental scientist and brand new, taking office in October, would she permit this? What about Mark Carney, the UN envoy, former UN envoy for climate change, dealing with the financial sector in particular? Mary Robinson, the UN environmental, I'm not sure what her title is, I forgot my papers at home. However, former president of Ireland.
So
what would they have to say about encouraging these non-sustainable heat islands that contribute to the climate crisis?
So thank you for your question. I can't answer on their behalf because
I'd like you to answer on your behalf.
I will
You're
happily
the leader.
answer on my behalf, and I'd certainly be more than happy to ask Mark Carney what he would think of this. But
invite me. I'd like to be there.
Okay. One of the issues that we have discussed at great length, and this is not a new issue in Westmount, is the pressure that is on our fields. And clearly, there is no appetite for us to expand that in Westmount Park, in KGP, or at the WAG. Those are multi-use spaces for many people.
So go up the hill. Go up the hill. Does that make sense?
What makes sense is offering, this is as, what was the term you used? A necessary, I can't recall. Anyway, this is a part of infrastructure that I think many on this council agree is necessary in a community, in particular where you want to attract and keep families to stay in your city.
Holy cat and cuttlefish, why not educate? I proposed awards. A year and a half ago, I proposed leadership awards for developing green ideas in business. So that was shot down. Educate new families. We can't rest on those laurels.
Okay, so thank you for, I think it's clear where you stand on this.
The future.
We are going to continue, and this has the support of council, I believe it is unanimous, the support of council to continue this potential partnership with Marianopolis to be able to offer this as an infrastructure investment within our city, and it is what is deemed necessary for us to be able to run these programs. Our fields cannot sustain what we're doing. So and I may disagree on this.
Are we thinking of
Mayor,
the
if I may.
programs today, tomorrow, or the future?
Caroline,
okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, this project has not been approved.
Oh, I know.
And
Environmental
moreover,
assessment plan.
that's right. I have said before, and I will say again, I've been consistent on this from the very beginning. I was the one who insisted that there be an environmental impact study done on this very question so that when we do consider it, we have all the facts at hand. And if the environmental impact assessment does reveal precisely what it is that you are describing, I, for one, will not vote for this project.
Is it going to be transparent
okay.
to the public who is on that assessment impact, what their credentials are, and can there be a member of the public?
Okay,
My
so
understanding is an environmental
it
assessment
is all
it's
noted
done by professionals.
It would be done by professionals. So your objection to a possible project is noted and is a valuable contribution to this discussion. So thank you.
Thank you. I was really hoping to hear whichever councillor said, I love this. We're thinking about the future.
I do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next question.
Thank you. I missed the debate about the dog run. So my name is Roberta Ann Kapelevich. I live on or near Melville, close to the Writer as well as the street. And I have one or two preliminary questions. Just someone mentioned Claudia Scheinbaum. I have a question. Does the City of Westmount write a congratulatory letter to Claudia Scheinbaum? This is not advocacy that cities have their independent foreign policy, which is actually was an idea floated by Gerald Tremblay once. But it is a suggestion. It's more about pluralizing democracy. And just in a place where a woman has not been, according to everything I've read, a woman has never been elected president of the modern state of Mexico. It could be nice that when she takes office, the day she takes office, that there's just this massive number of letters arrive in Mexico. And for history, one day when there's a historical wall or exposition on what she's done in office as a climate scientist and a former mayor of Mexico, and as a massively popular politician in Mexico, we're just sort of anticipating that good things are going to happen both for her country and at the international level. And this is also not about entering into the partisan politics of Mexico.
Okay.
It just
So-
could be nice if cities as well as countries, I know we're represented at the national, if just many levels of government and community organizations could send her a letter the day she takes office, which I believe is in the autumn. So I'm just asking
That's
if
a
the
very
city
nice suggestion. Thank you.
council could consider that and doing it in a way that is depoliticized and not confrontational.
Okay.
And
question?
Yes, I have two. There was a question about this law and dog run 50. My question, this is a small question, but I think it's important. You say that you're in contact with someone from the ministère, and it's not the. Who is the person who represented the ministère on this issue? What's their name? I just think that's
I
important.
provided the name to the council. I provided the name to the city.
I'm not planning on contacting them. I just think it's important to know who is exchanging on this issue, who is providing opinions.
I will tell you, I'll be 100% transparent with you. So I called Service Quebec. I told them, I'm an elected person. I'm with the city of Westmount. I would like to know who can guide me on this issue. So they sent me back to the MAPAC, which is the Minister of Agriculture. They told me, no, the law's been passed, we're not there. So they sent me a bit around. Then they sent me to the Minister of Justice. The Minister of Justice says, no, we're not going to intervene because there's very little jurisprudence. And we only look at complaints of employees that work for the Minister of Justice. So then they sent me to the Ministère des Affaires Municipales, and I ended up with the person who runs the Montréal section of the ministry. It's called the MAMH. In French, it's La Mamache. And this person, I spent about half an hour with him on the phone, and he said, listen, he goes, unfortunately, this is a new law. When I did call, I think it was a Tuesday, the decision came out on Friday. He goes, there's very little jurisprudence on this, so we're not going to intervene. He goes, but the two questions you need to ask your DG and your legal counsel are, number one, if there is a claim against the city, will your insurance company cover the claim? That's your first question you need to ask. He said, by the way, you're the only one who's called us. You're doing your due diligence. You're doing great. And they patted me on the back and the whole thing.
Sure.
And he said, you know, there's also potential liability for other councillors who voted against because it's a public safety issue. So he said, the second question you need to ask is, and I explained to them, you know, the council voted based on a legal opinion provided by an outside law firm. He goes, that's great. That outside law firm gave you the permission to do your law, but you should get a confirmation from that law firm that what you passed is in conformity with the provincial legislation. That's what the person told me. And that's what I publicly stated this evening. I provided the recommendation, the guidance provided me by the Mamache.
Okay, this is very interesting.
I've done my due diligence.
Yeah, no,
and
it's
that's
interesting to hear this.
I've done more than I can do. In my personal opinion, the bylaw, there is a risk for public safety, public order, and the public purse, because if there is a claim against the city, and we saw the court case.
And if someone is injured.
That's right. So if somebody gets injured and your insurance company doesn't pay, then you, the taxpayer, you have to foot the bill.
Right. So what's very, very clear is this is the responsibility of the municipality to enforce these regulations. That has been made very clear. There is no written document that Councillor D'Amico is referring to. This is entirely, what is very clear is that this is the responsibility of the local municipality. So thank you for your question on this.
Okay, but that's not the question I came to ask, but I'm just responding to issues that I heard as a citizen. I'm also concerned about the fact of a demonstration harming or in some way infringing on the, impinging on businesses or in the area of Westmount. I'm thoroughly against. I speak Hebrew. I grew up in a Jewish household. Hebrew was my second language. I learned it before going to school. I deplore war. I strongly advocate on behalf of peace. When I went to one of the demonstrations, I certainly don't go to all of them, I said a prayer for peace. I said Palestine and Israel, Israel and Palestine. I had absolutely no problem. I was told there could be security issues, people could get attacked. I had absolutely no problem. So one of the ways to deal with this question is to set up a dialogue group with demonstrators to make sure that there is no hate speech in any of the signage, and also to maybe express concern and solidarity with everyone seeking peace in the Middle East. You know, it's just if there are people who are bothered by something, is to establish a dialogue group, and that's an idea I'm suggesting to you, because that'll also, because we live in the world, and this is a world where war is becoming increasingly irrelevant, and one has to defend oneself. So I deplore October 7th, but I just strongly advocate on behalf of peace, and I hope that that is said in an appropriate way. And with a specific suggestion to the city to create a dialogue group if there are people who are being bothered or infringed, is to talk to people.
Thank you very much for your comment.
And hear their point of view too, and exchange, and that could be part of a peace process. When groups start talking to each other, that brings peace closer.
Okay.
That's okay. Now I'll get to my question. Now you want to hear my question?
I think there are people waiting behind you, and we've gone way over our time limit.
Okay,
at this point.
I did not realize that there was a time limit. I have a question, and that is about the Westmount celebrations of its birthday, or for perhaps something a year from now. Is it possible to suggest something for in the autumn? And I believe it's Elizabeth Rue, and I can contact Mary Gallery, who are my, because it's quite nice. It's quite a nice project. So maybe
they're very open to hearing any suggestions that citizens have. We do have several events that are planned throughout the year. And the library one is one that's this weekend, but we have some other 150th ones as well. So I'm sure they'd be very open to hearing any suggestions. And we have a citizen committee, a volunteer committee that is helping to organize these events.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi, Brian Shamandi, 19 Oakland. I'm here on behalf of Summit Woods being renamed as a dog park. I salute
It's not being renamed as a dog park, but...
Well, it says dog park on Exhibit A. It says dog park, so that's what I'm going with. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
What's your question?
Well, I want to commend your action on the kids and getting to school safely, but it's not lost upon us that you were inviting public consultation on the issue, and you never offered that to any of the issues facing Summit Woods. That's all. Question. What advice do you have for the 95% of Westmounters that do not have dogs, and how do you want to advise them how to ensure their safety when they go to Summit Woods? What are you going to tell those families?
I'm going to tell those families that for many decades now, this has been a long tradition in Westmount.
That's what you're going to say?
No, sorry, I was just responding because I hear someone saying Jesus Christ in the audience to what I'm referring to. What I am doing and what we have done as a council, and the majority of council supports this, is increasing the fines, increasing the presence. And I know you don't agree with this.
What advice do you have for the families that want to take their kids in the winter to make a snow fort, throw some snowballs, have some fun, run around? Are you going to say go there? Or are you going to say go there and be careful? What are you going to tell them?
I'm going to say go there. And I also hear from many families so I hear from you, but I've heard from hundreds and hundreds of Westmounters on this issue, many of whom don't have dogs, but who are up there, and you see them up there walking. I walk with people up there all the time that don't have dogs.
The lady before told us that she's been up there 3 times yesterday in the last few weeks. She saw nobody. Because people stay away. You don't understand that.
But there are no dogs off leash there right now.
I know. But people by nature are staying away because they have an inherent fear of what's going on there. You
Okay.
refuse to hear any of that.
That's not,
We can
that
have
is not
public
accurate.
consultation.
A public consultation on keeping
On
the
Summit
status
Woods,
quo
yes.
of the accessibility?
Whatever, Summit, or what are the issues? Compromise. Is that a word that you don't understand?
Does anyone else want to? I mean, I've addressed this with you. I've met with you one-on-one. I met with you and Dr. Yermis one-on-one. I spent a couple. I spent some time with
You
you.
didn't change the times from 5 to 6 yet, and you said you're going to triple the non-residents to 150. Plus, you had an
Yeah.
offer of 350. It's only going up to 100, as far as we know. We called. We found out. They said it's going to 100.
I believe it's
So I don't
150.
understand why you're telling us things and doing other things.
Does
It's
anyone
not
else
fair.
want to
It's not
comment
fair.
on
It's
this?
not fair. It's not, we're not stupid.
So I think
Sorry, Mr. Shimandi, I never, ever said you were stupid, and don't try and position that is something that I would think of you. And I have met with you in good faith to hear you. I've also met with many, many other residents on this, and to find a balance, and I get it, you live next to the park. This has an impact on you. The cars parking has an impact on you. The va-et-vient of the park has an impact on you. We have heard from several residents about this. As you've seen, the council chamber is typically packed in the past couple months with those who would like dogs to be on leash at all times and those who want to keep what the tradition and the current status.
Tradition.
So I think
has a
I've made it
life-
clear, and you've heard me on this, and the rest of council has also voted in majority on this. And if, a new council, or if this council wants to change their mind on that, they can do so by changing the bylaw, because that's the responsibility of the municipality.
So no public consultation?
okay.
I
Can
don't
I,
think there's,
can I weigh in here, please?
Councillor Aronson and then Councillor D'Amico.
All right, so really clear thing that we need to discuss here with respect to public consultations. When we talk about making a public consultation on rebuilding the boulevard, a once-in-a-generation project, we're soliciting the views and opinions of a wide variety of people within the city, because we're going to be making a permanent decision that's going to affect generations of Westmounters. We're not going to be rebuilding the boulevard more than once in 30 or 40 years. When we do big infrastructure projects, we absolutely make it a priority to have public consultations to make sure that we are canvassing a wide variety of people's opinions.
All due respect.
I'm sorry, I'm not finished
The
yet.
mayor said
sir,
the place is
excuse
packed
me.
because of Summit Woods.
Sir,
it deserves a public
excuse me.
consultation.
Excuse me. Yeah. On this issue, the only thing that was at subject was whether or not we had ever passed an annex in a bylaw to put one line next to Summit Woods to bring reality into conformity with what the law became in 2018. That's the whole debate.
Hence the dog.
And let me finish, please, sir. If this is such a major issue, such an incredibly difficult thing, I do wonder why it was that for the first 3 years of this council, no one said a thing.
Oh, come on.
And then no one said a thing.
You
was
brought
not an
it-
issue?
you
It
took
was
the
not an
Band-Aid,
issue.
Ripped the Band-Aid
Sir,
off, and this
please
is what it's
let me continue what I have to say. Okay?
It's a long answer.
Okay, so I think let's
It's a long
wrap this
answer
up
because
we have
this
several
because this
more
issue
people, and we have to
doesn't
wrap
seem,
up this question period.
I'm trying to give you an answer that will satisfy you. That doesn't seem to be possible.
Okay.
You've met with the
That's
mayor.
enough, Councillor Aronson.
One last word. So I agree 100%. We're having consultations on Lexington that only affected 24 homes. We're having consultations on Claremont that affect I don't know how many homes. We're having consultations on Upper Lansdowne, all in my district, that affect 45 homes. This issue is such an important issue. The place is packed because of Summit Woods. People care about Summit Woods. People are passionate about Summit Woods. This requires a public consultation. Nothing against Upper Lansdowne. It's in my district. I'm happy we had a public consultation on Upper Lansdowne. But this requires a public consultation because it is a major infrastructure project. It affects the future of Summit Woods. It affects what is Summit Woods. People are passionate about Summit Woods. You have misread this debate completely.
As I frequently say, sir, with respect, it is so wonderful that we live in a country where you are allowed to be wrong. As you are giving us an excellent example of this.
Next question.
We are not going to have a public
How am I
consultation.
wrong if
No,
everybody
stop it.
if everybody supports
It's
me?
enough.
Because this is the public consultation.
Okay, Councillor Aronson, please. Councillor D'Amico, please. Let's go to the next question. Madame Robitaille, welcome.
Hello, I'm Sophie Robitaille. I am a resident of 4721 Boulevard de Maisonneuve. And I'm here to talk about the parks and the public open space in Westmount, not specifically Summit Woods, but I do have a series of questions. I will try to focus it to limit it to only two. We are very lucky in Westmount to live in a place that's a National Historic Site of Canada. It is a beautiful place, it is unique, and that includes the landscape. It doesn't only include the library and other structures that we take so seriously and that are reviewed incredibly vigilantly by the PAC. Actually, I guess PAC is not reviewing public buildings, but I am curious about why it is that a intervention that is generational, right? These are the investments in Westmount Park are going to be present the rest of my life. I'm wondering why, there was no consultation for that, why we were advised so late when it was too late, right? The contractors had already been selected and awarded the contract. This is our public space. This is our space. Public Westmount Park, and I'm focusing on Westmount Park, but all the parks are super important. Westmount Park dates back to 1892. It is a historic park. It is a culturally significant place. It's also an ecologically significant place. So when I finally dug through a CAO and was able to find the plans, and I realized that the playground was actually growing, I couldn't read the plans. They were too unclear. I guess I was wondering, who reviewed these plans? Who approved these plans? Are there professionals? Are there landscape architects who, there's the people who design it, but like in PAC for, the projects that I build for small residences or big residences, it's very scrutinized, and people really are, being very critical of all the decisions, the windows we put in, the color of the windows we put in, the mullion details, all kinds of details. For Westmount Park, I guess I just wonder, did anyone approve that the playground was going to grow? Why is the playground growing? And that's just a detail. It's just a detail. But who reviewed it? Who approved it? Was it designed by bureaucrats, or was it designed by people who have a vision and understanding of what Westmount Park was intended to be in the first place when it was designed and envisioned in the 19th century? So that's my first question.
Yeah, so this project was awarded to BC2 and the landscape architects that come with that team. It is a jungle gym that will have a 10 to 15 year lifespan, and then the structures will be replaced because that's about as long as a jungle gym lasts. It is essentially on the same footprint as the previous structure, but we have to rebuild the paths around the play structures that are going in, and do some hydro work. And as you are well aware, those pathways were finished. They absolutely needed to be done. It was a safety hazard for kids walking. It was definitely a safety hazard for seniors walking. And we heard repeatedly about the walkways in that area, and everybody has seen it. Could it have been communicated better? Absolutely. And if we could go back in time, the project did get bumped up by the contractor, so it sort of took away a bit of the ability to communicate. Could we improve on that? 100%. And you and I have had discussions about that, about how we could better do that. But I think I certainly share your view that the parks are for everyone. And so I've heard from people, I've heard from families that said, you know, thank goodness, like it's about time. It's, we wanted an updated play structure. What was put in as a temporary measure was not sufficient to deal with, like, it is the high volume, high traffic area. But we absolutely can do better on the communications, and I concede that, and you will see some updated 3D drawings. But we have heard from a lot, I mean, the users, primarily being the kids and the parents of this park, and what they felt was needed. So it is not designed by bureaucrats, as you said. Not that I don't think bureaucrats deserve respect, but they were not the designers of this. This was a publicly tendered, awarded contract. So I'll hand it over to Councillor Peart. Do you have anything you want to add? And then Councillor Gallery.
To repeat the question was, did anyone actually review the plans and scrutinize the plans and approve an expansion of the playground as it is?
Yeah, but I don't want to leave the misconception that the playground is growing by any significant amount. One of the trees that came down was a dangerous dead tree that had to come down. That would have come down. But Councillor Peart, do you want to respond to that? And then Councillor Gallery. And it is reviewed, and then it is brought to council. So
maybe just wind back a little bit in time when we had the
Stantec Master Plan.
The Stantec Master Plan, thank you very much. And it was, to put it lightly, not very well received. At the same time, in front of our eyes, we had this facility that was quickly degrading and needed immediate attention.
Or was condemned.
It was, well, that was the
play structure.
The play structure was condemned. But the whole play area was also quite, I mean, in some places quite dangerous. I mean, I have a 4-year-old. I spent a lot of time there. I would see kids pulling up the bricks and playing with the bricks and throwing. It was past the point of repair. We could no longer wait for something that was a long-term vision that we could really dial in and solve everything. We needed something for the play area, and it was immediate, and I will almost say urgent. So, yes, we dispatched a plan to be tendered to a third party of well-credentialed professional firms who put together their scheme. I think the nut of your question, though, is once that scheme comes in and it is presented to council, does council review and approve?
No, but not does council. Does anyone with credentials review it?
So
that's the question.
So there is no mechanism in between the production of the design and before it comes to council to say, raise your hands and say yay or nay. I think there's an opportunity for some kind of professional review on some projects. But please hold your applause, because I'm not talking about lights in the pond. That's a small, almost administrative project. But I'm talking about the projects that have a long-term, larger impact. I think there's room for that. How we manage that internally, that's something that we can work on and navigate through. But these, like you say, these projects are important. They are long-lasting. They are impactful, and there is an opportunity to do better. And I'm open to that kind of a strategy. Sometimes, if it comes to council, some of us are able to respond to it differently or better. But we might benefit from some professional oversight in the same way that we benefit from professional oversight with PAC.
So, as we had discussed prior to tonight, and as Conrad has just said, we are very open to seeing how we can improve that process.
Okay, so I do have a follow-up. I I just want to clarify, I don't think bureaucrats have no value. I just think they're not landscape architects. That's all I'm saying. They're just not landscape architects. And we all wear a hat, we all get trained to become good at something, and it's not a diss on bureaucrats. But I'd like to follow up and just ask if, there are many examples of friends groups in the world that support and enhance the funding and the efforts towards maintaining and conserving important, significant public open space, historic sites like Central Park. The Friends of Central Park have had a tremendous impact on enhancing a degrading park that had become incredibly unsafe and poorly maintained. Our park is smaller, it's not going to become as unsafe, but we need a friends group. And I'd like to know, and we need a friends group that has an advocacy role, that is heard and has a voice within this administration.
So, I thank you for your feedback. I think it's a testament that I am always willing and when I am able to meet with you, to hear feedback from you. I know you are an expert in this field, and we will discuss how we can, from our side, anyone is welcome to give feedback, obviously. Your feedback comes with an area of expertise and a professional area of expertise, and not coming advocating for less children's structures and more pickleball courts or whatever it may be. It would come with an over. So I do value feedback like yours on projects like this. So we will discuss how we can improve on that process.
Thank you. I guess the intent of what I'm trying to say is that I do care about Westmount like you all care about Westmount. I think it's an amazing place. I left for 20 years, brought my family back to here because I think it's a really special place. I'd like to help, and I know there are other people who would like to help, to make sure that we conserve, preserve, and enhance this amazing city.
Yeah, and I think if you look back at the investment that this council has made, we are investing in parks. We are doing sometimes, hard things of tree maintenance and things like that people don't love, but need to be done, and upgrading, and definitely play structures and those things. You absolutely, long before it gets condemned, you need a plan for how that's going to be replaced, and to get the users and the citizens on board certainly makes that planning process easier. So was it perfect?
That's
No.
a perfect segue, because I think the only way to do this is to do a master plan. It allows you guys to plan your funding, it allows the citizens to know what's coming next, it allows transparency and public consultation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We all agree.
Next question.
My name is Victor Yelverton Haynes. You know me perhaps as Tor. I live at
Welcome.
4729 de Maisonneuve. So I agree with Councillor Angela D'Amico that Summit Woods is a concern that we're all passionate about. Not perhaps because of dogs that we want to walk there or don't want to be walked there, but because it's a heritage woods. What people do there is not necessarily heritage. Building fires and campfires, we've been doing that as a heritage human activity for a long time, but it's not necessarily a heritage activity. We do lots of things that are not heritage. So what happens? What might council, with the good heart that you have in citizens' well-being, and I noticed that walking over here, kids playing on natural turf on several soccer fields, happy and getting healthy, and not, and in many other ways I see from reports here, the good heart of council, and you're to be praised for it. So what happens if citizens start to think, perhaps as some of us already do, that dogs have no place on or off the leash ever, in Summit Woods. Maybe we should start to think that, with sober second thought, that dogs are important for people. You were concerned, perhaps, as council is already, with the well-being of citizens, and many of us love dogs, pets.
Do you have a question?
My question is going to be, what do you think of the proposal I'm about to make?
Okay. Bring it on.
The reason for the proposal is that maybe Summit Woods can be preserved as a heritage woods. But what do we do with the dog owners? Keep them out? No. Well, people are used to walking their dogs and they have to on a leash. I spoke to John Fretza about mini dog runs and large dog runs, and let the pun work, dog run in a small area for small dogs. And there are many dog runs.
Sorry, the question.
The question is, would you, as a council, consider promoting a number of fenced-in, building perhaps new ones, and maintaining them, dog runs, and council would be perhaps lobbied by people concerned with this. Perhaps there's some good ideas that you might encourage community, might encourage the socializing of people who take their dogs to a dog run and take them off leash. And if they're all small dogs that are not eaten by big dogs, then you could monitor the licenses and say, you have a license to go to this dog run and not that one. And it requires some thinking and some management.
So I thank you for your proposal to look at building more dog runs. Is that correct? That's
would you
what
consider it?
I would, we will bring it back to council. We have precious green space in this city, so, but we'll discuss. So thank you for your question, and we have one last question with Mr. Yeah, I had announced that before because we are well over our time limit by actually.
I can't stand in the long line, so I would appreciate, my question is very short and it's about Westmount Park, not about Summit Woods.
So Mr. Ajram, would you let Wanda ask her question?
Yes, please. Thank you. We did have a very large proposal about what was going to happen.
Sorry, you just, for the record, you just need to state your name.
My name is Wanda Patrikas, and I live at 300 Lansdowne. My question is about the consultation that took place before COVID on what was happening to Westmount Park. And one of the proposals that was supported was the naturalization of the lagoon or the pond. And since then, we've really heard nothing about that. And this spring, with the lack of water for the ducks and the new things and everything, brought that to light again. So I'd like to know if it's anywhere on the council's agenda to look at the naturalization of the pond, and also the grass around the pond is non-existent anymore. So when people come for the summer concerts and everything, and it's been raining, it's muddy, and it's just a mess. So how hard is it to sort of put down grass seed at a certain point in time? It's not incredibly costly, and I think it's something that should be looked at. Westmount Park is a disaster. There's so many places that are just mud. And my third question is more a request. I would like the library to take down the current storybook walk, or it should be replaced anyway. It's been there all thing, but with international or with the National Indigenous Peoples Day, it's an absolute insult that they have a book that's been written by Buffy Sainte-Marie, whether people know or not, and whether she is Indigenous or not. It's something that's been incredibly hurtful to a lot of our Indigenous people, and I think it's just incredibly disgraceful that Westmount hasn't taken down that story walk. And if they don't want to take it down for any reason, there is one part that isn't used, so they could at least put something out, an excuse or something else like that as to the current debate over Buffy St. Marie's, whether she's Indigenous or not, at least explain that they know about it. I walked through the park the other day with some Indigenous friends, and I have to tell you, they were horrified.
Okay.
And I was horrified when I saw it 6 months ago, but I thought it's the winter and they'll replace it in the spring, but you know, it hasn't been replaced as yet, and I would like it to go because it embarrasses me.
Okay, Councillor Roux, do you want to address that one? And I can address some of the other issues.
I'll pass the message along. Just to let you know, it will be coming down because we're putting up the Chris Hadfield book, so I'm
there is a
not
change
sure
out
on the
there.
background why that book was picked, but I can tell you it will be changed soon.
Okay, and then for the rest of it, we can look at putting out grass seed and things like that means closing off certain areas, and it is a testament to the high use of the park and the traffic in there. But we'll certainly send a note, or we'll have, the Director General has taken note of that, of some of the high use areas, especially around the summer concert series. The naturalization has been that, and the work that was done this summer was to deal with some masonry work and some leakage underneath the pond, and that was a part of the project that was still like very controversial. It was suggested, but it definitely is something that needs to go on the Capital Works project because we will have to address the longevity of the pond because it does leak. So, Mr. Ajram, next question. And this was supposed to be the last question, as was noted several times. It was noted. Okay, Monsieur Ajram.
So, Doug Ajram at 4100 Dorchester.
Welcome.
Thank you. And I have a concern.
Okay.
I also have a solution. So, the concern was that you have the library celebrating 125 years.
Yep.
And I heard a birthday cake was being considered, right? Okay.
Well, I believe there is a birthday cake for the party.
Yes. And the city is celebrating 150.
Yes.
So I have a solution for you.
Okay.
Can I ask you to?
I'm not sure what's happening, but okay.
You go through a lot.
I won't comment on that. But okay, so is that the question?
No, there's a solution. I gave the concern, I have the solution.
Okay.
The solution, I'm done.
Okay, the solution is coming.
Yes.
Everything is solved with cake.
Yes.
Maybe we give some cake to this side of the room here and we'll...
That's your 150 anniversary cake.
Let them eat cake.
From Dorchester, which is where I live.
Yes, what does it come? Bring it closer to me. I can't go out there. Is this from you, Mr. Ajram, or is this from
Well, no, you can't because that's a gift and that's not from me. It's from...
I hope this is under $200 so I don't have to register it.
40 doesn't make anything under $200.
And is this a thank you for the work that's getting done on your street?
Nothing. I'm not asking nothing. There's also plates, napkins.
Thank you.
You won't.
Mr. Ajram, thank you. You are always a welcome citizen who has lots of feedback, commentary, and suggestions. And tonight he has cake. It's Kathleen's birthday and Mary Galleries, so yeah. And Elizabeth, today. Anyways, thank you very much, Mr. Ajram. Thank you for your continued implication in the city and for your suggestions. Okay, is that the end of question period? There's a second question period, and we are now 40 minutes over the first question period. So, all right. On va commencer avec l'adoption de l'ordre. And I'm sure everybody understands that these meetings need to be run with rules, as they are in other municipalities, which Madam here is a city councillor in another municipality. She would know the rules to the question period. Donc, on va commencer avec l'adoption de l'ordre du jour. Monsieur D'Amico, Councillor D'Amico.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Donc, je propose que l'ordre du jour de la séance ordinaire...
But hang on one second, just especially for the students, if you would like some cake as you leave, I hope you take some pieces. Yes, I would like you to give the students some cake and to take it home to their siblings and family members.
Go see Filippo. He's a good cake cutter.
And anyone else who would like it. OK, on va commencer avec Monsieur D'Amico. Councillor D'Amico.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Donc, je propose que l'ordre du jour de la séance ordinaire du Conseil du 3 juin 2024 soit adopté.
Merci beaucoup. En appuyeur, c'est Madame Roux, Councillor Roux, with the addition of 25.1, termination of employment, employee number 066631. Seconded by Councillor Roux. All in favor? Numéro 5, encore, Conseiller D'Amico, approbation du procès-verbal.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the minutes of the regular council setting held on May 6, 2024 be approved.
Merci beaucoup. En appuyeur, c'est Conseiller Peart. All in favor? Carried. Item number 6, reports to council. Les documents suivants sont déposés. Liste des règlements adoptés à l'Assemblée ordinaire du Conseil d'agglomération du 16 mai 2024. Règlement 04047259, règlement modifiant le plan d'urbanisme de la Ville de Montréal 04047, ainsi que son certificat de publication. Résolution 139-05-2024 demande de révision de la loi sur la fiscalité municipale pour les taxes de la Sûreté du Québec, appui de la municipalité de Sainte-Hélène-de-Bagotte. Résolution 151-05-2024, règlement sur les plans d'implémentation et d'intégration architecturale, PIIA, obligation au devoir d'adoption d'un PIIA par les municipalités, demande de reconsidération par le gouvernement du Québec de la municipalité de Sainte-Hélène-de-Bagotte et le projet du règlement modifiant le plan d'urbanisme de Montréal 04047 relativement au programme d'urbanisme le secteur Griffintown, ainsi que la résolution CA 24-22-01-17 de l'arrondissement de Sud-Ouest donne avis de la motion et adopte le dit du projet de règlement. Le 6.2, c'est le procès-verbal du comité plénier. C'est encore Conseiller D'Amico.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Donc, les procès-verbaux des rencontres du comité plénier du Conseil des 24 avril et 6 mai 2024 sont déposés et sont disponibles sur le site Web de la Ville.
Merci beaucoup. Et 6.3, c'est encore Conseiller D'Amico, rapport de la main-d'œuvre.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Donc, le rapport de la main-d'œuvre pour le mois d'avril 2024 est déposé.
Merci. 6.4, registre des paiements, encore Conseiller D'Amico.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The list of payments for the month of April 2024 is tabled.
Thank you. 6.5, again, Councillor D'Amico, liste d'approbation en vertu du règlement 1507.
In accordance with Bylaw 1507 on the delegation of powers to certain employees of the City of Westmount, the list of authorization of expenditures for the month of April 2024 is tabled.
Thank you. And the final one in this section for you, Councillor D'Amico, 6.6, list of duties on transfer invoices.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Donc, les listes de facturation des droits de mutation pour le mois d'avril 2024 sont déposées.
Merci. Numéro 7, c'est encore le conseiller D'Amico parce qu'il est le maire suppléant maintenant. Orientation du conseil sur les sujets devant être présentés au Conseil d'agglomération de Montréal.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the mayor, or in her absence, the acting mayor, be authorized to make any decisions she deems necessary and in the best interest of the City of Westmount and its residents regarding the items on the agenda of the Montreal Urban Agglomeration Council meeting to be held on June 20, 2024.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this is Councillor Aronson. All in favor? Carried. Item number 8 is Councillor Peart is moving this one. Support Association de support pour l'Association des redistributeurs d'électricité du Québec, AREC, modernization of the business model for municipal networks in Quebec. Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. Whereas l'Association des redistributeurs d'électricité du Québec, le AREQ, reaffirms its commitment to collaborate with êTRE Québec and the Ministère de l'Économie, de l'Innovation et de l'Énergie to promote economic development and pursue efforts to decarbonize. Whereas the rate offer to customers is diversifying and energy efficiency is crucial. Whereas for several years now, the municipal networks have seen their margins erode and their business model is tending towards counterintuitive actions. Whereas investment is required in the infrastructure and in the network to accommodate growth and in billing systems and smart meters to track rate changes and encourage the development of behavior conducive to the economical use of electricity. Whereas the AREQ wishes to initiate a process to discuss, analyze, and modernize the rates applicable to municipal distributors with Hydro-Québec in order to support investments. Whereas a tripartite committee, including representatives of Hydro-Québec, the Ministère, and the AREQ would be established, whereas the objective of said committee would be to ensure the viability of business margins and facilitate the investments required for energy transition. I move that the Municipal Council support the Association des redistributeurs d'électricité du Québec, the AREQ, in its initiative to modernize its members' business model and rate structure.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Aronson. Do you want to add any further comments? It's fairly comprehensive.
Comprehensive, yeah. As is well known, the challenge that we face sometimes with hydro is that the provincial government regulates us on both ends of the transaction, so what we pay and what we can charge. So
Yeah.
this is a initiative to get back to the table.
So seconded by Councillor Aronson. All in favor? Carried. Item number 9, numéro 9, c'est entente réalisation de l'entretien d'une œuvre d'art mural. C'est Councillor Gallery.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will read the whereases. Whereas the City of Westmount is considering entering into an agreement whose object is the supply of services related to cultural or artistic fields, pursuant to the first subsection of Section 573.3 of the Cities and Towns Act, CQLR Chapter C-19. Whereas part of its 150 years of existence, the city wishes to finance an urban mural project on the theme of the 150th anniversary celebrations. Whereas a proposal by the art gallery S16 Gallery Inc. was sent to the City of Westmount for the year 2024 for the creation of a mural by the artist Adam Vieira Watzadam. Whereas after analyzing the proposals received, Gallery S16 Inc.'s proposal was selected as the public art project for the 150th anniversary. Whereas the project includes the creation of the mural and its maintenance for a period of 4 years. Whereas the mural will be displayed on one of the side facades of the building located at 1368 Avenue Green, owned by 7709595 Canada Inc., and whereas the owner of the building is in agreement with the creation of the mural and its maintenance for a minimum period of 4 years. I move, Madam Mayor, that the City of Westmount enter in an agreement with S16 Gallery Inc., Adam Vieira, and 7709595 Canada Inc. for the creation of a work of mural art for the city's 150th anniversary. That the Director General and the Director of the Westmount Public Library and Community Events be authorized to sign for and in the name of the city the agreement Entente pour la réalisation et l'entretien d'une œuvre d'art mural. That the sum of $70,000 be paid to S16 Gallery Inc. for the creation and maintenance of the mural for a period of 4 years, from June 15th, 2024 to June 15th, 2028. That the sum of $70,000 be paid to S16 Gallery Inc., include the artist's fee and a license for the use of the work to be created. And finally, that an amount of $10,000 be paid to 7709595 Canada Inc. as compensation for the use of a frontage of its property.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Aronson. This is an exciting initiative that is part of our celebrations of the 150th anniversary for the city, and we've seen these all over the place, and we think this is going to be a very fun addition to the commercial sector of green.
And June 15th will be the unveiling.
Yes.
And
So
celebration.
come one, come all. There'll be more cake. All in favor? Aye. Carried, seconded by Councillor Aronson, that one. Item number 10, numéro 10, c'est encore Councillor Gallery, c'est nomination chef de division, opération et installation sportive, service de sport et loisirs. This is a very well-deserved one.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am delighted to move that Mr. Andrew Maislin be appointed to the position of Head of Division, Operations and Sports Facilities of the Sports and Recreation Department, Grade 8, effective June 4th, 2024, in accordance with the salary recommendation stipulated in the decision-making file number 2024-2300, and according to the terms provided for in the working conditions and remuneration of management personnel, that this appointment be on a permanent basis once Mr. Maislin has completed a probationary period in accordance with Section 2 of the Working Conditions and Remuneration of Management Personnel.
Going to be seconded by Councillor Bostock. This is great news, welcome news for any of you who have been through our sports programs in terms, especially our youth teams. You undoubtedly know Andrew Maislin and his dedication to those programs. So I just want to, as someone who has raised kids through those programs, I just want to, on a personal level, say a huge, well-deserved congratulations. And he's not here with us, but he might just be out like painting lines on fields and things like that, as he's been known to do late at night. Andrew, congratulations, and very, very well deserved. And all in favor? Aye. Carried. Item number 11 is Councillor Bostock, Appointment Assistant Superintendent, Roads and Parks, Public Works Department.
I move that Ms. Geneviève Dagenet-Dufort be appointed to the position of Assistant Superintendent, Roads and Parks of the Public Works Department, Grade 9, effective June 14, 2024, in accordance with the salary recommendations stipulated in the decision-making file number 2024-2299, and according to the terms provided in the working conditions and remuneration of management personnel. That this appointment be on a permanent basis once Ms. Dagenet-Dufort has completed a probationary period in accordance with Section 2 of the working conditions and remuneration of management personnel.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. Do you want to offer any further comments or just congratulations?
Congratulations and welcome.
Yes, thank you. Well done. All in favor? Aye. Carried. Item number 12, numéro 12. C'est appel d'offres sur l'invitation service professionnel pour la gestion documentaire et collaboration SharePoint. Ça, c'est Monsieur Conseiller D'Amico. Councillor D'Amico, item 12.
I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $77,270.80, including tax credits for professional services for SharePoint document management and collaboration, tender by invitation number INV-2024-014, to award to Posture Conseil, Inc. the contract for this purpose at its bid price for a maximum amount of $84,621.60, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the call for tenders by invitation INV-2024-014, to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2024-2296.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Peart. Any further? It's pretty straightforward. All in favor? Aye. Carried. Item number 13 will be Councillor Aronson, call for public tenders, cancellation of the call for public tenders.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas on April the 26th, 2024, a public tender opening was held for the purchase of pad-mounted transformers. This was tender number PUB 2024-15, and minutes prepared by the city's clerk's office are submitted to this meeting. Whereas, following an analysis of the open tenders, the bids were deemed to be non-conforming. I move that the two tenders submitted as a result of a call for tenders bearing number PUB 2024-015 for the contract for the purpose of for the purchase of pad-mounted transformers be rejected on the basis that the bids were non-conforming, or deemed non-conforming. And further, Madam Mayor, I move that a new call for tenders be initiated to obtain prices.
Thank you very much. A seconder is Councillor D'Amico. Any further comments? No,
Speaks for
straightforward.
itself. We got to go back to the drawing board.
Seconded by Councillor D'Amico. All in favor? Carried. Item 14, again, is Councillor Aronson. Appel d'offres public, achat de transformateurs aériens, PUB 2024-016.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This one worked out better. Whereas on April the 26th, 2024, a public tender opening was held for the purchase of overhead transformers. This was public tender number PUB 2024-016, and minutes prepared by the city's clerk's office are submitted to this meeting. And whereas, following an analysis of the open tenders, RFP Limité was the lowest conforming bidder as it appears from the report prepared by the purchasing division, which is also submitted to this meeting. So therefore, Madam Mayor, I move that we authorize an expenditure in the amount of $357,728, including tax credits, for the purchase of overhead transformers. This is from public tender number PUB 2024-016. And further, Madam Mayor, I move to award to RFP Limité the contract for this purpose at its bid price for a maximum amount of $411,297.77, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents for the call for public tenders PUB 2024-016. And finally, I move to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2024-2246.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this, Councillor Peart. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item 15, call for public tenders, cancellation of the call for public tenders again, 2024-018 is Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. I move that the three tenders submitted as a result of the call for tenders bearing number PUB 2024-018 for the contract for the reconstruction of the water main and occasional sewer work on Argyle between the Boulevard and Cul-de-sac be rejected on the basis that the prices received are too high, that a new call for tenders be initiated to obtain new prices.
Thank you very much. A seconder is Councillor D'Amico. You had already given some details about this in your opening comments.
I had sometimes, I mean, we set out a budget, and if that budget, if the prices come in higher than the budget, then we reevaluate. In this case, we thought it best to go out for a new price.
Perfect. Thank you. So seconded by Councillor D'Amico. All in favor? Carried. Item 16 is Councillor Gallery. Appel d'offres public, remplacement de la tour d'eau au centre des loisirs de Westmount, PUB 2024-019.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $398,300.53, including tax credits, for the replacement of the water tower at the Westmount Recreation Center, public tender number PUB-2024-019, to award to Plomberie Charbonneau, Inc. the contract for this purpose at its bid price for a maximum amount of $436,191.01, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the public call for tenders PUB-2024-019, to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2024-2293.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Bostock. This is now a 10-year-old building. So an example of continued maintenance that needs to happen on the WRC in order to keep it running and efficient. So do you want to add anything else?
No, it's time for an upgrade.
Councillor Bostock is seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item 17, numéro 17, avis de motion règlement 1498, 2024-1, modifiant du nouveau le règlement 1498 sur le stationnement payant. Madame Kez.
I give notice of intention to submit for adoption at a subsequent meeting of council bylaw number 1498, 2024-1, entitled Bylaw to Further Amending Bylaw 1498, Unpaid Parking. The object of this bylaw is to regulate parking spaces reserved for electric vehicles on the territory of the City of Westmount. A copy of the draft bylaw is available for public consultation.
Thank you very much. Again, a notice of motion number 18, notice of motion bylaw 1612 2024-1, further amending bylaw 1612 to establish tariffs for the 2024 fiscal year is Councillor D'Amico.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Donc, je donne avis de motion de l'intention de soumettre à une séance ultérieure du Conseil municipal le règlement numéro 1612-2024-1, intitulé Règlement modifiant de nouveau le règlement 1612 visant à établir les tarifs pour l'exercice financier 2024. Je dépose le projet du dit règlement. L'objet de ce règlement est de mettre à jour les tarifs liés aux permis pour chiens, aux espaces de stationnement pour véhicules électriques et à certaines demandes de permis. Une copie de ce projet de règlement est disponible pour consultation.
Merci beaucoup. Encore un autre avis de motion 19, avis de motion règlement 1614-2024-1, modifiant le règlement 1614 visant à imposer et prélever une taxe et une compensation sur l'exercice financier 2024. Councillor D'Amico.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I hereby give notice of the intention to submit for adoption at a subsequent meeting of Council Bylaw Number 1614-2024-1, entitled Bylaw Amending Bylaw 1614 to impose and levy a tax and a compensation for the 2024 fiscal year. I table the draft of said bylaw. The object of this bylaw is to set the rate for the payment of compensation at 0.5% of the base rate. A copy of the draft bylaw is available for public consultation.
Thank you very much. Again, doesn't need a vote because it's a notice of motion. Item number 20, adoption bylaw 1622 respecting the remuneration of elected municipal officers. And just so people know, this is awkwardly about my salary, which I have to vote on. By law, I have to vote. So I typically only vote when I'm tie-breaking, but when it comes to remuneration, you actually have to vote. So I will hand it over to the city clerk and then to Councillor D'Amico.
Yes, so copies of the bylaw have been remitted to all members of council and are available for public reference in due course. The object of this bylaw is to update the remuneration of the members of the municipal council and to bring the maximum indexation to the current level for all categories of employees.
Est-ce que je peux avoir la déclaration de la part de chaque membre du conseil présent à la fait qu'il ou elle a lu le règlement? So declared. Councillor D'Amico.
I move that bylaw number 1622, entitled Bylaw Respecting the Remuneration of Elected Municipal Officers, be adopted.
Seconded by Councillor Peart. Do you want to add any further commentary on this?
Yes, so this decision was made by an analysis made by the administration, of which the FNA committee has reviewed, and it's based on the budgets under administration by comparative mayors of comparative cities of comparative size, of which I approve.
Councillor, thank you. Councillor Peart.
Yeah, I would just like to add, excuse me, sorry. Something that I've said around the table at GC a few times is that it's very expensive to live here, and the salary should not be a reason to do the job, but it should also not be a reason to not do the job. And I think we would be really limiting the scope of talent and experience that we could be encouraging people to step forward and to take on this very engaging, time-consuming, and as you witnessed earlier tonight, sometimes not the most welcoming experience. And so I think these changes are absolutely necessary to like Councilor D'Amico has said earlier, to bring us up to at least the level of other cities of our size, employee count, budget size, everything is proportional.
So this was reviewed by the FNA. This was not something that was brought forward by, and in fact, I've been trying to get them to delay this. So that I ran out of steam on getting them to delay. I was hoping to do it at the end of the mandate, but it is important. It is something that I talk about a lot, is who will do these jobs going forward. The job has changed. The role has changed. The expectations of municipalities has also changed. Some of the issues may be the same, but the role has changed. And so if you want to encourage people, so one common feedback that I think councillors have also heard, I certainly have heard, was I would never do your job for X number of reasons. And one of them, constant feedback, was always about the salary. Anyway, so that's, I think we've said enough on that, but this does come as a recommendation from the FNA committee. So, a seconder is Councillor Peart. All in favor? Moved, and so I declare that bylaw 1622, entitled Bylaw Respecting the Remuneration of Elected Municipal Officers, having been duly adopted, it is ordered that notices be given as required by law. Item number 21 is, again, Councillor Peart, the tabling of the Planning Advisory Committee minutes.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Je propose que le Conseil prenne acte et accepte le dépôt de procès-verbal et de l'Assemblée régulière du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme, le CCU, tenu le 30 avril et le 2 mai 2024.
Merci beaucoup. Appuyé par Madame Gallery. All in favor? Carried. Item number 22, approval of site planning and architectural integration programs, is again Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. I move that the Municipal Council act on the recommendations of the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC, as set out in the minutes of the regular meeting held on April 30th and May 2nd of 2024, and approve, with respect to each of them, the plans and permit conditions attached to the items listed below as assessed in accordance with Bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs.
Thank you very much. A seconder again is Councillor Gallery. Anything you want to note? It is the busy season for permits.
It is indeed. There's a fair size extension on Roslyn, an amendment to a prior permit for new construction on Roxborough, a lot of doors and windows as usual, and a couple of pools.
Okay, so I guess at this time, as I always do about these permits, is I encourage you, if you are the recipient of a permit, to speak to your neighbors. That will go a long, long way if you are having a project that will have any impact on them, whether it be in noise, dust, construction trucks, things like that. We really encourage you to speak to your neighbors and to talk to them about that. So, all in favor? Carried. Item number 23, again, approval of site planning and architectural integration program 10 Surrey Gardens, is Councillor Peart.
Thank you, Madame la mairesse. I will read the whereases for this one since it's particular to this particular application. Whereas an application has been submitted by the applicant under Bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, whereas said application meets the objectives and criteria of Bylaw 1305, whereas said application concerns the front facade of a Category 3 building, and these buildings have a lower architectural value than Category 2 buildings, whereas no specific standards apply to the conservation of the existing features of these buildings, whereas modifications to the existing buildings are permitted as long as they are visually coherent and blend in with the environment. Whereas, according to Bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, Council must decide on the recommendations of the committee by way of resolution. I move that the Municipal Council, having received the recommendation of the Planning Advisory Committee, the CCU or PAC, as set out in the minutes of the regular meeting held on April 30th and May 2nd of 2024 in item CCU 24-04.43 of the agenda of said meeting, approve the Site Planning and Architectural Integration Program conditions for the issuance of a permit as stipulated in the plans and documents submitted in the permit application 2024-00150-PIIA 2024-03063 for modifications to the main entrance on the front facade of a Category 3 building, which involve widening the staircase spanning the entire width of the entrance porch landing and changing its main materiality. That said plans and documents be attached to this resolution as an integral part hereof.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. Any further comments on this? Pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, but from time to time, council takes a differing view from the recommendation from PAC, which is why this one was pulled out separately.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Again, Councillor Peart is a denial of Site Planning and Architectural Integration Program, SPAIP, 657 Murray Hill Avenue.
Thank you, Madame la Mairesse. For this, I will read the whereases again because it's particular to a specific address. Whereas the minutes of the regular meeting on the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC, held on April 30th and May 2nd of 2024, were tabled at the sitting, whereas the main role of the PAC is to analyze and give recommendations on any request that must be submitted to it in accordance with the Act respecting land use, planning, and development, CQLR, Chapter A, 19.1, and on any other application in matters of land use, planning, and development that is submitted to it by council. Whereas an application has been submitted by the applicant under Bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, whereas said application does not meet the objectives and criteria of Bylaw 1305, whereas the PAC has issued an unfavorable recommendation regarding said application as stated in the minutes of the regular meeting of April 30th and May 2nd of 2024 in item CCU 24-04.37 of the agenda of said meeting. Whereas according to Bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, council must decide on the recommendations of the PAC by way of resolution. I move that the Municipal Council act on the unfavorable recommendation of the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC, as set out in the minutes of the regular meeting held on April 30th and May 2nd of 2024 in item CCU 24-04.37 of the agenda of said meeting and refuse the conditions stipulated in the plans and documents submitted in the permit application 2024-00282-PIIA 2024-03107 for the replacement of a roof made of asphalt shingles with a roof of the same material. That said plans and documents be attached to this resolution as an integral part hereof.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this is Councillor Gallery. I don't think we need any further comments on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item is under new business 25.1, termination of employment, employee number 06631. Councillor Bostock.
Here we go. Whereas the auxiliary employee was hired on October 26, 2023, and was subject to a trial period of 840 hours in accordance with the collective agreement. Whereas following an evaluation of his work performance, it has been demonstrated that he does not have the required qualifications and aptitudes necessary for the position. I move that the Municipal Council authorize and ratify the end of the probation period and termination of employment of employee number 06631 effective May 28, 2024, as per the recommendation signed by the Director General.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Gallery. All in favor? Carried. So that brings us to the end of that part of the agenda. We'll now allow for, if there's questions in the room that have not been asked, if you have not asked a question yet, you can ask a question, and then we're going to go to the online questions, because we have several of those to get through. So I'm mindful of, so now it is 9:30. So Mr. Dufour.
And good evening. It's Richard Dufour from Anwath Avenue. Just a question of clarification. To follow up to Ms. Rabitai's question, the landscape architect who was questioning about work in Westmount Park. Is it my understanding that work projects, for example, the memorial gardens or the playground and so on, does not go through the PAC?
It depends on, do you want to answer that one? It depends on the project, of what gets reviewed.
Did the memorial garden project, for example, and the playground go through PAC?
The playground did not. Memorial Garden, I believe.
Because the playground is a replacement of equipment on the footprint of the park. It's not a redesign of the park, it's taking out broken equipment and putting in a new jungle gym and fixing the paths around it.
The Memorial Garden?
It's because it's a judgment from court.
Yeah, the Memorial Garden is a very different scenario, and that was part of a court judgment with the victims of that case. And part of their judgment was that they had to agree upon, it was dictated by, and that's difficult because then it was very difficult to come to a conclusion as to what that would be. This garden is approved by the victims and the mother of one of the victims who has died. And it was part of the class action lawsuit. So this is a very, very different scenario that I know some would like to judge as part of all of our parks projects. You can't. This is looked at through a very, very different lens.
I understand that's probably a very sensitive issue, but just as a general comment, there seems to be a bit of an inconsistency in terms of the rigor that the city has in imposing architectural guidelines for individuals who want to do something in their home. And yet, when it comes to a public space that has a great impact on the community, that rigor does not necessarily apply. And I think Ms. Robitaille, and I've heard another architect from Westmount express the same
Yeah, and I think
concerns.
that was very much heard tonight as
I hope that
a way
follows
we
up.
can address that.
I have another question. About a month ago, or sorry, about a year ago, I had a long conversation with Councillor Peart to ask about what was happening with the updating of building and zoning bylaws. And at the time, my understanding was that there was somebody hired who was going through that systematically, and that eventually there would be an update to that. And that was over a year ago, and I want to know where that process is at.
So,
Peart, over to you.
Absolutely. So what you might not have been noticing is over the past year or so, there's been like a steady stream of revisions to our bylaws, or there's been some bylaws that have been introduced that we didn't have before. We have our minor derogation is not that new, but we have a minor derogation bylaw which never existed in the city before. We are looking at heat island modifications that were again are new. There are I'm running short on, but there are initiatives that have already been taken that are already enacted, in course, and planned. The wholesale rewrite of the zoning bylaw and the PREMIÈRE bylaw, that's not something that we are attacking all in one shot. We have identified we're making these these omnibus revisions. For example, electric chargers at the front of our house. There was an amendment recently to regulate those. There's demolition was almost from root to branch. It was almost rewritten. What the strategy that we're undertaking is to do it in an incremental way, to really identify the weaknesses in our bylaws. A lot of the bylaws don't talk very well to each other. They contradict, and so a lot of those things have been addressed. And some of them, because they were written many years ago, are not even I won't even say non-conforming, but they're not best practices is the way they're formulated. And so there have been some edits to the bylaws. But I think the nut of your question, if you permit, is there a wholesale big change coming? Not immediately. One of the steps that we just talked about quite recently, which is really critical, is an update to the building inventory. We have our categorization of buildings. The province has mandated that there's a heritage inventory that takes place. So we have to interleave our efforts with the requirements of the province, and at the same time, we are again, we just had this discussion quite recently, is to replan, update our categorization, go into greater detail, greater granularity, and all of that will really inform the next steps, which are updating the PAEA guidelines. Even the PPU, which is planned for the southeast, that's a zoning revision that we're not just waiting for. We're not waiting to do the whole city all at once. We've targeted a specific area in the city that we know needs attention right now. We can't wait. So there's the resource that I spoke about a year ago. She has been working full tilt. She's not even doing it alone anymore. She now has support. If you follow and look, you'll see the fruit of that labor, and we're quite pleased with the progress that's happened. We're not going to be able to do everything at once, obviously, but there's been a lot of changes that have been enacted and that are in course.
Thank you. Can I ask specifically about a few particular issues that I think are worth addressing? I'm wondering if
I could probably fill them in for you if you want.
I'm sorry?
I could probably guess what they would be, but I'll let you go.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask specifically by the end of your current mandate, collectively, which I hope will be renewed, but given whatever, in a year and a half or so, do you expect to address the following issues? And I'll name them. One is minimum parking requirements. One is minimum size of dwellings. 3 is the 8-inch masonry requirement. And 4 is the green roofs or white roofs.
Pretty loaded question.
Yep.
Which I think we will.
Forward thinking.
We have begun discussing several of them, but we don't have an answer. We would not have a concrete answer for you on this, but I like the challenge of the timeline.
In the committee that we're doing, we would like to look at some, Councillor Aronson, in the committee that we're doing, we'd like to look at some of those issues.
The committee you're doing, sorry, the
environmental.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Okay, may I ask, or can
in the interest of time, because we now have we have 15 questions online. So I just would ask everybody to be as quick as possible because we have to get through all the online questions.
Alain Forgère, UNWATH. J'ai remarqué la très belle initiative d'ajouter une affichette sur le parc Vimy, qui est de l'autre côté de la rue. Très belle initiative. Il y a un petit texte qui résume un peu c'était quoi la bataille de Vimy. Malheureusement, dans le texte français, il y a 2 fautes d'orthographe. Ma question est la suivante.
C'est pas nouveau, ça.
OK. Ma question est la suivante. Quel est le processus pour traduire et ou réviser et ou approuver les textes à la ville de Westmount? Et par respect pour les anciens combattants francophones, est-ce que la ville peut s'engager à corriger les fautes d'orthographe sur la fiche?
Oui, absolument. Merci pour la question.
Absolument.
Et le processus, normalement, il y a une révision, il y a un groupe de communication qui garde tous les textes. Des fois, il y a des fautes. Je suis surpris qu'il y ait une faute là-bas parce que ça fait quelques années que c'est là, mais on va régler ça. Est-ce que vous pouvez...
je croyais qu'elle était nouvelle, la fiche.
Je pense celui-là, en bleu...
Oui, je viens juste la remarquer la première fois. Mais
non, ça fait quelques années que c'est là.
Ah, OK. Bon, alors c'est la première fois que je la remarque. Mais
OK.
Bon.
Mais c'est noté. Merci.
Merci.
Hi, I'm Jessica Winton. I just had a first very quick question. Is there anything planned in terms of events for Pride Month?
We have certainly celebrated it. I don't know if you read the story about êTRE, who, and then we also participate in some of the larger events, but like the parade is obviously not in June. It's typically in Montreal in August. But if you have any suggestions of what you would like to see, I know the library does some stuff in terms of both on the children's side, but also on the adult side and some education. But if you have anything you would like to suggest, we would be happy to hear it.
Well, that's actually also part of my second question, which is I wanted to ask collectively to council, if you read all your emails, but not necessarily respond to all of them, because every time I've emailed one of you, I've never received an actual response.
I think you've received a response from me in the
I
past.
have, but not directly from any member of council.
Okay.
Either
I'll let the council members, because I know I've
I mean, it's
received-
either an issue with my email, but I've never received anything like an auto reply saying that my email has been received. So it's just a suggestion.
Okay,
Again,
I
maybe it's-
encourage all councillors to respond to their emails, but...
Yeah, you haven't, but for the councillors who have.
Okay.
It's okay.
Just putting it out there.
Yeah. It's not an attack on anyone in specific.
Okay, thank you. And again, if you have any suggestions for events, or anyone does, we'd be happy to hear them.
Great. And then third thing, as I mentioned last time at the monthly meeting, I had made a poster for the Mountainside United Church to be reintegrated into a school. With the kids from St. George's here today talking about the boulevard, one of the initiatives on that poster is to actually implement a bike and combination bus lane on the boulevard, because I realize it's an arterial road and maybe the city wants to keep it that way. I was asking, does the city intend on keeping that as an arterial road, or would they be interested in more a pedestrianized use as well as a transit corridor for buses?
I think we would be open to all suggestions during a public consultation, and I think that the priority needs to be, obviously the road needs to be rebuilt.
Right.
The infrastructure underneath needs to be redone. It's going to be that is a huge project. It'll be done, it will not be all done in 1 year. It would be several years, but I think there is definitely, certainly on this council, and this project will be many years, so I can't dictate what future councils would say necessarily, but this council to prioritize pedestrian safety, in particular the kids that are walking to those schools that are on the boulevard.
Okay. And then I guess follow up to that, would you be interested in seeing the poster I made for the church and giving any feedback?
I would. I think we'd all be interested in seeing it, but again, as we have said, we are
I've
not
reached
the
out to
owners.
them.
I think you should send the poster to the owner.
I have. They haven't responded. So
Okay.
maybe they're ignoring me as well. I don't know.
We're not ignoring you.
Yes, we're not ignoring you.
No problem. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Dennis Barrow, still at 36 Burton.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Question, I didn't hear quite correctly. I just wanted to check. Are the lights in the waterfalls going? Are they going to be taken away, or?
They have been turned off.
Permanently?
For now, they have been turned off.
Well, it's really interesting. Mr. Dufour talked about the guidelines for residents, and the city does something else. Well, the city has a brochure called the Right Lighting for Westmount brochure.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's on the website, and I try to get a hard copy. We don't have a hard copy. The lights are a complete contradiction of the guidelines you guys provide, or the city provides. Somebody should read it. I'm just going to read 3 items out of it. It says, the first one, exposure to excessive light at night disturbs sleep patterns and natural cycles in people, in animals, and in birds, affecting overall health. Second one is light pollution has increased very rapidly in the last few decades. And the main guideline says light only where and when needed. And so there's no need for it. There's no when for it. There's zero. So someone should look at it before even thinking about doing it. And it goes back to Ms. Robitaille's comment and suggestion that someone should be involved, residents be involved in the park, that check out these things, to plan these things. Is this a sensible idea? Is this a dumb idea? I mean, we've talked about this, but.
So I guess just on that point, I would say you should feel proud to live in a community where if we don't get it right, we can pivot and we can adjust. And this might just be one of those instances.
Correct.
I don't think there's a need to.
Thank you very much. But often, too many times, this is my last time as a resident asking a question.
Well, you're still very welcome to come to council.
No, I will not ask a question. I will not be in Westmount.
Okay.
But my biggest disappointment, I've been pretty on the right side of things over the last sort of 15 years, and this has been very good for me once I retired, and it kept me busy.
You have been a very engaged citizen.
Thank you.
Of
Renovation guidelines, my biggest disappointment. We've been talking about it, Madame Robitaille, in 2016, and it's 8 years now. It was an election issue in 2017. Nothing, it's sort of maybe bits and pieces here and there, but there's really nothing. We're so far behind. We're missing all the opportunities that are there for us in terms of cost and materials, the environment, and so this is a huge disappointment. The second item is the sidewalks. People are still falling. The holes are still in the sidewalks. I've talked about it so many times. The holes are still there. I even had public security last week take pictures of some holes, and they said, well, we're not, public works, we're public security, but this is security. So they said, yes, these holes are terrible. That's my number 2 disappointment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for your continued engagement in the community, and you've been a very devoted citizen and pushed things forward and participated. So and a regular attendee, especially during those COVID years, where nobody attended except for you and Lorene online, knowing I wasn't speaking into the abyss. So thank you, Mr. Bureau. I think you'll be happy to see some sidewalk work that's getting done on Victoria right after the sidewalk sale that's happening this weekend.
And for the first time, we're doing a sidewalk survey in the same way that we quantify the state of our streets. For the first time in 2024, we're doing one for the sidewalks. So for the 100 kilometers of sidewalks, we will have real data that can tell us where we need to be putting our efforts. Because I agree with you, our sidewalks need attention, and sometimes they don't get and historically they haven't got the attention that they deserve. Or it's a patch with asphalt, doesn't quite cut it for duration.
While it may not be perfect and we cannot get all the work done at once, I do think we are moving things forward. So I would, Mrs. Kabelovich, you've already asked.
It's a different question.
I know, but there's someone in the room who hasn't asked a question, and then there's 15 questions.
I encouraged her to ask the question. I encouraged her to be allowed to ask the question. Do you want the other person to ask before me? I mean, I could have finished my question
Just
by
finish
now.
your question.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. First, I want to strongly support the bike path on the boulevard, and I tried to sneak that in while the people who were advocating it were here. And second, did anyone review whether all the transit closures during Go Velo were necessary? Because there were an awful lot of things that were closed. Yeah, because it was very inconvenient. Go Velo is very popular, and no one is against Go Velo. At the same time, it's not clear that to my first view, it's not clear that all the bus closed. So I don't know who would address that, and I'll try and send my questions in writing tomorrow.
So that is the Tour de Lille runs the entirety of that event. We gave feedback that we felt Lansdowne was not the ideal route for them to come down. That feedback is sometimes taken and sometimes not. But we can certainly give, there were, for safety reasons, the police closed other access points. So thank you for your questions. We will relay that.
It's not the streets, it's the public transit.
Yeah.
Not sufficiently rerouted. Did everything have to be canceled that was canceled? And to whom could I send this question?
That, if you go on Tour de Lille website, there's...
No, someone from the city of Westmount asked, because Westmount residents, does Westmount contribute to the STM budget?
Yes.
Okay, so Westmount contributes to the STM budget.
I can certainly relay your concerns. Thank you.
Bonsoir, Mariam Kamali-Nejad, Summit Circle. Merci. En fait, je voudrais d'abord remercier vraiment M. D'Amico pour le travail acharné qu'il a fait. Je sais à combien c'est très difficile à joindre les gens dans différents organismes publics et à avoir des réponses. Et deuxièmement, je voulais savoir que vous, personnellement, Madame la mairesse, est-ce que vous avez appelé jusqu'à date une fois la sécurité publique?
Pardon?
Est-ce que vous avez déjà appelé une fois la sécurité publique?
J'appelle sécurité publique beaucoup.
Comment vous imaginez qu'il y a un chien qui est problématique au summit de bois et que vous appelez la sécurité publique et qu'ils vont venir dans combien de temps? Comment vous imaginez le scène? Comment vous imaginez que la personne, le propriétaire de chien, reste avec son chien jusqu'à ce que la sécurité publique arrive? Combien de minutes ça prend de partir de sécurité publique et arriver au Summit Wood? Et après, où avec
Nos gens sont jamais à sécurité publique, sont toujours sur la route.
N'importe où, évidemment, n'importe où dans la ville, quand ils sont le point le plus loin par rapport au Summit Wood, ça prend combien de minutes pour qu'il arrive au Summit? J'aimerais juste savoir comment vous imaginez le scénario, comment vous simulez dans votre tête le scène. Parce que vous proposez à tout le monde d'appeler la sécurité publique.
Oui.
Donc, j'aimerais savoir comment vous imaginez le scénario.
S'il y a un problème avec un chien que les gens perçoivent qui est dangereux, comme vous le savez, ils appellent sécurité publique rentre là-bas, ils trouvent le chien, ils parlent avec les gens, comme vous savez, madame, très, très bien, comment ça marche avec un chien dangereux.
J'aimerais que, parce qu'apparemment, vous voulez tout le temps notifier que je suis conseillère municipale. Oui, évidemment.
Oui, vous êtes un conseiller municipal. Donc, ça, c'est pourquoi, comme vous êtes toujours un conseiller municipal,
oui.
on comprend les règles et que les municipaux ont le droit de faire ça. Vous dites que ce n'est pas le cas, donc, mais ce n'est pas un débat pour moi.
Non, absolument, je ne veux pas débattre. Je voulais juste vous poser la question, vous ne m'avez pas répondu.
J'ai répondu.
Combien de minutes que la sécurité
ça dépend.
publique...
Je vais demander à Mme Bostock de répondre, puis après ça, on va y aller sur les questions en ligne.
Comme si vous avez un accident sur la route, en voiture, on appelle à 911 et ça prend le temps que ça prend. Oui, absolument, on est fiers d'avoir une sécurité publique, mais dans les autres municipalités, ce n'est pas le cas. Donc, eux, ils vont appeler à 911, puis la police va venir quand
Merci pour votre réponse, mais
c'est
figurez-vous que la personne avec son chien ne reste pas sur place, comme ça m'est arrivé et que je vous ai envoyé la photo. La madame avec son gros chien comme ça, il n'est pas resté sur place jusqu'à ce que votre sécurité publique arrive. Donc, la semaine
et vous avez gardé votre chien sur la laisse en tout temps?
Pardon?
Et vous avez laissé votre chien sur la laisse en tout temps avec son couvert de...
Je pense que le débat est fini.
Commentaires hors de question. Je vous pose la question.
Les personnes qui marchent leur chien là-bas,
je vous pose la question. Répondez. Vous n'avez pas besoin de m'attaquer personnellement.
Je ne vous attaque pas, mais tu nous attaques.
Répondez aux questions, s'il vous plaît.
Je pense qu'on a répondu. Il n'y a pas un temps exact qu'on peut répondre à cette question. Mais comme on avait dit, s'il y a un problème pour les gens là-bas sur le bois sommet, s'il y a quelque chose, appelle sécurité publique.
Parfait.
989-5222 ou 911. Donc, merci beaucoup. On va passer à des questions en ligne.
Dernière follow-up là-dessus.
Non, mais vous avez passé toutes vos questions. On a 15 questions en ligne.
Un follow-up, si vous permettez, juste pour vous dire que depuis dernier mois, à plusieurs reprises, M. McBain, il peut vous valider qu'on a appelé et qu'il n'y avait pas d'agent disponible. Point. Merci.
C'est M. McBain qui est ici avec nous autres dit que ce n'est pas la vérité. Mais on va passer à des questions en ligne maintenant.
Okay.
Et comme on a noté avant, on va faire une liste publique de les chiens dangereux qui habitent à Westmount, que tout le monde est au courant qu'ils sont où et les détails de ça. Donc, merci et on va passer aux des questions en ligne maintenant.
Première question de M. Samuel Dubé, 650 Belmont. Bonjour, Madame la mairesse. Est-il prévu d'ajouter des stations de Bixi à Westmount, surtout dans la portion au nord de la rue Sherbrooke? Il n'y en a vraiment pas beaucoup sur le territoire de la ville actuellement. Cela pourrait contribuer à rendre les transports actifs plus attrayants. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Je pense que Mme Bostock veut répondre, mais c'est vraiment un cas de Bixi est une victime de son succès. Mais on demande toujours pour des autres stations. Et on a des stations qui sont les plus utilisées sur l'île de Montréal. Donc, Madame Bostock.
C'est souvent discuté au comité du trafic. On est en discussion avec Bixby pour améliorer les services à Westmount et plutôt dans la section nord de Sherbrooke. Je sais qu'on l'a déjà ajouté dans la proximité de Marianopolis et on est en discussion de voir si on a de la place autre part, plus à l'est, peut-être vers Atwater peut-être et le boulevard dans cet environnement-là. Donc, c'est une très bonne question et
puis, on va faire une demande aussi, Monsieur Dubé, on va faire une demande d'être un parti du le programme pour l'hiver, le Bixby pendant l'hiver. Donc, ça, on va faire cette demande. Mais merci pour les commentaires. Et si vous avez des places ou des coins que vous pensez que c'est une bonne idée, envoie-le à nous autres, puis on est assez facile de trouver. Mais merci pour la question. Prochaine question.
Question from James Metzinger from de Maisonneuve. Is there a bylaw that forces big institutions to abide by the same standards as citizens do in the city? Why are citizens forbidden to have frost fences in their backyards while a private college like Marianopolis can have one right in front of its building? Thank you.
Councillor Peart, do you want to take this? But yes, educational institutions do have a different set of rules and regulations.
Exactly. There's a specific clause, a specific article in our bylaw that does allow that does make an allowance for educational institutions to be relieved of the constraints that we apply elsewhere in the city. I suspect that historically, because these are public institutions, they may not have the same resources that are available to private entities and private persons, but that's the way it's written, and it's legit.
So thank you. Thank you for your feedback. Next question.
Question from Frederick Gervin, 434 Victoria. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for the invitation to bring my question back for the 6th time. Your January 22nd letter clearly states Westmount was overbilled by Montreal for services. There have been 5 opportunities to reveal how much was overbilled. All I got were sanitized answers. So this time I am offering a solution. Ask Valerie to repave some roads, repair sidewalks, and if anything is left, a fence around the dog park. If anyone has a better idea, please let Westmounters know. Beaconsfield claims 15 to 20 million of overbilling. In full disclosure, I have no conflicts of interest. Solution 2, there are no limits of solutions. Thank you, Madam Mayor, Mayor Smith and councillors for adopting a new method for evaluating bids for professional services. This procedure needs to be extended to all construction contracts. The greenhouse is a perfect example of how a contractor can extract more money by claiming something was not known. Contractors need to suck it up and finish the job for the bid price. The City of Toronto does not permit additional billing. Will you consider denying additional billing? And solution number 3, the proposed turf field seems like a fantastic opportunity to include an indoor swimming pool. Build the swimming pool first and create the turf field on the roof. This will also eliminate the need to cut trees in another location.
Thank you, Mr. Gervin. There are several elements to your question. I know you're looking for a specific number for me, but I will again reiterate to you, I can't give you that exact number. Many of the bills that we pay to the City of Montreal are for shared expenses. So it would have to be determined what we don't believe or that we're using as a shared expense. Beaconsfield has a very different view on this, and they are doing their own lawsuit without without other independent cities. So while that may be frustrating to you, I can assure you that every month at the Agglomeration Council, the 15 demerged mayors hold the city accountable for all agglo expenses. So when they build a street that has a bike path on it, that is in one of their local boroughs, and if we feel things are added onto that project that really should be the responsibility of the borough and not the agglomeration of Montreal, we certainly push them on that for further explanation. And often, if you're following the agglomeration, you will see now that we're often voting against many more motions. So, and thank you for the rest of the suggestions about the swimming pool with the turf on top. So thank you. Next question.
Diana Hernandez, 4840 St. Catherine West, the mayor of Westmount, known for her statement, Je suis la fière propriétaire de Charm, along with her 6 disciples, all dog owners, passed a bylaw overriding Provincial Law 128, Article 20, requiring dogs to be leashed in public areas. The bylaw designates Summit Woods, formerly Summit Park, as a dog-run facility, ignoring its status as a sanctuary for wildlife. This space is not just for a few with unleashed dogs. It's selfish for dog owners to disregard the safety of others by allowing their dogs to roam unleashed in this unfenced space, disturbing wildlife and humans. Doesn't Summit Woods deserve UNESCO World Heritage recognition for its unique urban setting? Shouldn't officials stop acting on personal agendas?
Ms. Hernandez, you asked a similar question at the agglomeration last week. I think my councillors, who are all independent councillors, the 6, I don't know which 6 exactly that you're referring to. I think it can summarize, I could guess, but I don't know. I think they'd be offended to be called disciples, since they were duly elected by citizens of this community to represent the citizens, and they are all independent councillors. And I wouldn't say that I'm acting on any personal agenda. I'm acting, as I have always done, as a very committed mayor of this city and citizen that's dedicated a lot of time to trying to move this community forward. So, yes, I have a dog. Her name is Charm. I get, that's all I have to say about that. I could talk to you quite a bit about Charm, but I won't. But to call independent councillors who are elected as my disciples, I can see how that might be offensive to them. Next, or...
I would just add, in terms of protecting the Summit Woods, we are working hard to strike a balance of on and off leash times, and we have a new urban forest engineer who's just settling into the city, and we look forward to hearing his update, and we will do additional measures in the Summit Woods coming up. And I'll have more to share.
Thank you. Next question.
Melissa Hui, 352 Lansdowne Avenue. What is the justification for the enormous increase in salary for the mayor from $43,000 in 2009 to $68,000 in 2019 to $95,564 in 2000-something to $130 in 2024? This represents increases of plus minus 58%, 41%, and 36% within the past 5 years. In contrast, councillors' salaries have increased more modestly from $21,968 in 2019 to $36,864 in 2024.
So I think this was addressed before. I don't know if we want to address it again, but I think there's some jumps in there that are not accurate. But this was a recommendation from the members of the elected members of the Finance and Administration Committee to have it more in line with similar cities of equal size, and it is really looking towards the future. It's been something they've been pushing me to accept is a reality and needed for many years. Certainly Councillor Peart has been pushing this for 7 years, and Councillor D'Amico for 3. So they got their way, and it's here we are.
So everything is relative. So I reviewed an objective analysis done by the administration. It was prepared by the HR department. We looked at comparable cities. We looked at budgets of the different cities. Also, what's unique in Westmount is that we have Hydro Westmount that the other mayors don't have. So there's an additional responsibility of the mayor in regards to Hydro Westmount. It is a full-time job. Being mayor of Westmount is a full-time job, and it requires a lot of engagement, and it requires a lot of time. So when I've reviewed all the numbers and all the facts, I've come to the conclusion that the amount is reasonable for the time put in, the effort put in, and the skill sets required to be the mayor of Westmount. We are a leader in Quebec in terms of language, arts, and education. We have the oldest library that we're very proud of, that's world-renowned. So it requires specific skill sets. It requires time, and in my opinion, the remuneration is commensurate with that. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to add again?
I'll just add one point of information. In 2019, the adjustment was largely also due to a change in tax policy. Tax policy at both the federal and the provincial level, and so portions of the remuneration that were previously not subject to tax became subject to tax, and so there was a recalibration that happened in that year for all members of council.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Next question.
Julian Robinson, 5008 Sherbrooke. I have 2 questions regarding landscaping in the city. Has something been planned in front of City Hall? The building is beautiful, but almost no flowers and no pedestrian alley to get to the main entrance. We need to use the bicycle lane. 2, have you considered repaving the parking lot in front of the library? It's worn out. If so, could you use paving stones?
Thank you for your feedback, and you raise an issue that we have also discussed. So the City Hall landscaping around the building, we've had several years of work on City Hall. First the roof, or first the masonry, then the roof, and then the windows, which was a major project. So we've done a lot of work on the building, and in that time, we obviously had to put up the scaffolding around the building, which then meant that we lost some of the landscaping that was there, but it also needed to be renewed. So we are going to have some plantings around the building. I guess we've gotten more to some of the other public plantings before this one, but rest assured there will be plantings around the building, and then we will have a larger landscape plan for the building, and that is a shared bike pedestrian lane in front of City Hall. But thank you for your feedback on that, and I agree with you. And the parking lot, I don't believe is slated in our PTI at the library, but it's certainly something that will be looked at. So thank you. Next question.
Tom Hughes, 4852 St. Catherine West. When are we going to get appropriate adult exercise bars in Westmount Park? The ones there now are inappropriate for many reasons: size, coloring, moving parts, safety, etc. Such equipment is not expensive to install, called TrackFit, and would attract many users, including personal trainers and small groups. I see many Westmounters using the excellent outdoor facilities in Saint-Henri. Installing such equipment would greatly improve enjoyment of the park by many residents. How is it that Saint-Henri, almost among others, can afford such excellent TrackFit facilities, but here in Westmount we cannot?
I think Councillor Gallery wants to answer this one.
Sure, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Hughes, for your question. We've had a few conversations about this over the years. As you know, the existing equipment is still in decent shape. It would be great to upgrade it, and TrackFit is a great quality product. And when we looked into it last year with our administration, it became clear to us that the installation costs were much more significant significative than the actual equipment. So as you know, our park equipment budget is spread thin throughout our 12 parks throughout the city. I will keep trying. I would love to see an upgrade at some point soon, but thanks.
Thank you. Next question.
Sheila Smith, 100 Hillside. When are these trains going to Atwater and Hallowell? I have checked. They're not there. Beautiful afternoon, and it's in my backyard. Kathleen said something about a track broken. Well, it's been several weeks and still not fixed. These are loud, smelly trains. Just want to know why they're not where they originally said they would be. Why here all summer? Shameful. Please help.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. I know that this has had a huge impact on you, especially because you were right next to it. I think you probably got an update from EXO about the different phases and why it can't be, ideally in some way. I mean, there's no ideal place to park trains that are because of the work that's happening at Lucien Lallier. And I know you had asked the question about around the WAG and that there's very strict rules that apply to this, and there is a slight slope there, so it can't be parked there. They are working on moving them. They will be moved a little further east. Kathleen, do you want to jump in?
Between Abbott and Hillside is the turnaround zone.
Yeah.
So that will remain there. And the other part of the process
Is moving
is
further
the park
east.
trains, and that's going to happen between Prospect and Weirdale. So I know I haven't had too many complaints from Prospect because they're not there yet, but they're coming. They're coming. And people will complain. It's unfortunate. There's nothing we can do, but these are two maneuvers, different maneuvers that are happening.
Okay, thank you for your question, and we'll continue. I know my office has been in touch with you, and please feel free to continue to share your concerns there. If there's anything new, just let me know. Next question.
Question from Cordell Henbury, same address, 100 Hillside. Please provide an update regarding the situation with EXO trains idling in Lower Westmount. There are conflicting accounts and there's much misinformation regarding times and locations of the disruption.
So I think we just answered that similar question that we just answered, but perhaps we'll post an update, the EXO update, we can repost and share with residents again, just in case you missed it. I hope that you didn't miss it, but it should have been sent to your door. But thank you for your question. Est-ce qu'on a d'autres questions en ligne?
Aucune question.
Aucune question. Okay, so we're going to adjourn the meeting because that has been a long evening, but I want to thank you for participating. And the next meeting is July 2nd, I believe, is the Tuesday because of Canada Day. But thank you very much. Goodbye.